I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
All right, welcome to We Talking About Sports, episode 39. Hey, guys, it's good to be back. You know, it's been a minute, but I'm here. I'm back. Hey, Ben.
Glad to have you back, Justin. Glad to have you back.
I appreciate that. You know, a little setback, a little health setback, but as Roland said last week, you know, if this was the playoffs, I was ready to go last week, but I sat out another one, and we're good to go now.
It's always the playoffs here, bro, because we talk about sports here, bro. Sports that matter.
There we go. Hey, Ben, so I saw the snaps. It looked nice. The course looked nice. Tell us about the Valero Open. How did they go?
Oh, yeah. Last Friday, I ended up taking a day off from work and heading to the Valero Open. One of our buddies that moved up here, Rick, he volunteered, and they gave him free tickets. So Wally was up here, and he said they had an extra ticket if I wanted to tag along. So, yeah, we ended up going, and, man, dude, it was nice. I'm an idiot. My first time out there, like, I thought, like, go dress casual. You know, it's the golf course. I went in Sperry's, bro, and that was the dumbest thing I could have done, man. Not that I got blisters and shit, but it was like walking barefoot pretty much throughout the whole course. You know what I mean?
No shoes not that comfortable.
Should have gone some tennis.
Yeah, no, for sure. I should have worn trainers or something, but I was being an idiot, bro. Wally said that I just wanted to look like I was from Texas because we were Speed around. We followed Answer around. We followed Spieth around and Ricky Fowler. So they were like all in back-to-back groups. Yeah, they were all in back-to-back groups. So we started on hole 3 and saw them all pass by, and then we went to hole 6 and did the same thing. So it was dope, man. It was a good experience. It was my first ever golf event. So it was cool. What's that, Roland?
Were there any adult beverages going around over there?
Yeah, for sure. For sure there was. Of course there was. We even brunched before we went to the golf tournament. So we showed up already litty.
So would you do that again? Would you go to another golf tournament like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I'd like to. Even the Valero Open is dope, but the one out in Austin.
Yeah, I hear that's a popular one to go to, the match play, the Dell match play.
The match play one. That's the dope one, man, because you get those good matchups. And it's like tournament style during the weekend. So that's definitely the next move. But all in all, it was a good experience.
The good thing about this year's Valero Open and being from San Antonio, it was a big point of contention when they renewed the contract for the next 10 years that the Valero Open become pre-Masters. So you can get a lot of the guys gearing up for the tournament. You know, a lot of the guys that are going to play or that are playing today, they use the Valero Open as a primer for the Masters instead of the way it was before. And the reason why it wasn't such a hot event was because it was after the Masters. And what happens after the Masters, you get your guys taking 2 weeks off or a week off, and they skip this tournament. So the name's definitely bigger. And so Ben picked a good time to go to the Open because definitely the biggest names that tournament has had in its history.
Phil Mickelson was out there. Tony Finau was out there.
All the big dogs.
Like, you know, DJ.
Everybody pre-Masters.
They weren't out there, but yeah, guys were working on stuff, man, because they were going for it. That's what was fun. They weren't, playing it safe with so much strategy. Like they were trying to go for it and get their swings right. So it was a nice experience.
Now, did you go to the range at all to see them warming up or gearing up at all?
The putting green, just the putting green. Like we got there, when they had already started, but the main guys were starting around 11 o'clock. They had an 11 o'clock tee time. So we got there at about 10:45, 10:30.
Any tips or tricks that you saw them do that you can implement into your game, your golf game?
Nah, I was too crunk
like that
to be picking up tips.
Nah. And then this tournament is usually held during Fiesta, so that's also the thing with this. Next year, Fiesta's going next year during San Antonio. You got the tournament going, and
that's a whole party right there, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, Roland, tell us about Fiesta. What's that like?
Fiesta's fun. I mean, it's a 2-week party in San Antonio. Like you got like all of your vendors out. Like they have different little settings in different part of the cities. It's a really big party here in San Antonio.
We went to a New Orleans themed party. Like they have different themes at different sites, and so it's nice.
It kicks off with Oyster Bake, which is at St. Mary's. It's like a 2-day party, pretty much like a carnival kind of thing. You have food vendors all around. You got country concerts going on primarily. That's usually the big concert that they have going on. But yeah, it's super fun, and they got canceled this year and last year because of COVID, obviously. But hopefully next year, this time it'll be going on.
Oh yeah,
hey, Roland. So tell me about your week. How did it go this week with you?
It was good, man. This week was awesome. I mean, we had the national championship on Monday, so that was a good start, even though I was on the wrong side of that. But it was a good week. You know, I've been paying attention to NBA now that March Madness has ended. So, yeah, just trying to stay busy, pretty much. So, yeah.
Are you on anything for tonight, Ro?
Yeah, I was on the Mavs. I mean, nobody's just listening to this pod will get that play, but yeah, I was on the Mavs tonight. I think Giannis is doubtful. I know Kristaps is questionable for the Mavs, but I don't really think that matters. They haven't had him for a lot of the years. So, yeah, I was looking at the Mavs tonight. And I took the Bulls also on some injury news, and the team that they're playing against, I'm blanking out on who they're playing against right now.
That's the Mavs also are bouncing. Hopefully it's a bounce back game for them. They lost a pretty embarrassing one yesterday to the Rockets.
Yeah. They were like 12-point favorites in that game, ended up losing straight up.
Outright.
The Bulls play the Raptors.
There you go, Raptors. And the Raptors are dealing with those suspensions, and they already had some guys out because they got into that brawl with the Lakers.
Harrell and OG Anunoby.
Malachi Flynn has been getting minutes, man. I remember watching him at San Diego State. He's getting some run for the Raptors, but they're definitely shorthanded. Lowry's hurt. Van Fleet's out as well.
Yeah.
And then guys suspended.
That's what I'm looking at right now. And then baseball, man. Daytime baseball. We talked about it last podcast. Just been watching a lot of baseball too. So
man, that definitely helps get you through the day, bro. It's dope.
Astros off to a hard start. Hot start.
I wish I could watch the games, Justin, but I don't know how to get them. I don't know how to get Astros games.
I gave you my MLB league thing.
Yeah, where I live up here in New Braunfels, they're blacked out.
We're gonna show you how to get a VPN then to get around that.
Yeah, I guess that's what I need because, bro, I've seen one game opening night when they were on ESPN when we were live potting. Right?
Tell me something. You know I got the links.
Yeah. No, but hot start for the Astros. And tonight's the home opener against the A's, who barely got their first win yesterday.
Do you know
what? It was chippy against, was it the A's last year?
Yeah. It's definitely going to – that's when that dude flopped on the Correa tag at second.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I got some clear. Who knows?
The home opener, man. I'm excited about it. It's not nationally televised, is it?
I don't think so. But do you know if they're going like 50% attendance? I know they have the gates open. I just
they do. I'm not sure on the numbers either, Roland.
The Rangers, man.
Rangers won 100%.
We were joking about it last week, saying they needed to go 100% to get like 20% of the crowd filled, but it looked packed. I think it had a little something to do with they were opening that new park.
Yeah,
Life is a new park, and the pictures. I mean, it was a crowded event.
I think it was sold out, to be honest. I didn't see empty seats. Did you?
No social distancing. I didn't see any empty seats.
I didn't even see masks, anything.
Yeah. They got to do that to pay for that stadium, like Roland said.
Yeah, they really do. Well, we got a new segment opening up, Ben. It's a What If. Roland knows about it already.
The What If game? We're going to play What If.
It's the What If game, but sports edition.
All right.
So, $100 million on the line. You get to play LeBron James. Here's the caveat. You can swap skill sets and have his skill set, but you're going to have your current height, weight, and athleticism. Or you can swap bodies, have LeBron's body, but you're going to have your current skill set. What are you doing?
Oof.
I'll take a LeBron skill set.
I think I would too. I'm 6'4" and I'm heavy. You know, I can probably we can body each other up if we're playing one-on-one. With his skill set, he's fucking toast, baby. His body don't fold, cuz.
Yeah, I think I might be toast either way. I mean, I'm 6 foot, like soaking 140, so I think I might be toast. But I'll take his skill set over mine and.
Bro, you definitely want his body, bro. Nah, you want his body, bro.
Yeah, I mean 6'8". That's
because because if you're gonna have all the size on him, and I mean, you play basketball,
That's
then
true.
again, his skill set, you got to think size is gonna matter because he's a pretty versatile person.
Yeah, I'm just saying I haven't touched a basketball in since COVID. Like I haven't played competitively in a while, so I don't know what my skill set's looking like right now.
I feel you. I feel you. Hey,
I thought that would be a fun opener though.
when you got it, it don't go away though. That's how
true.
we feel over here. When you got it,
It's like riding a
never goes
bicycle.
away. Hell
It comes
yeah.
back to you.
I don't have the golf swing yet, so that shit goes and comes when it wants.
The stroke never leaves you.
The stroke, hell.
Stroke never leaves you.
All right, well, Roland talked about it a little earlier. He alluded to it. Championship week last week, Monday night, or this week, Monday night, Baylor and Gonzaga. Baylor came out early, punched Gonzaga in the face. Gonzaga came back a little bit, mounted somewhat of a comeback towards halftime.
They got it to 9. That was the best.
It was
they
10
did.
at half, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10 points.
But then it went back to 17, and they got it
Baylor
to
just
9.
put it on them again. What y'all think of the tournament, final end of the championship game?
I didn't see it coming. I thought Gonzaga was good top to bottom. I thought they had a pretty formidable team. You know, they were going for that undefeated mark. The first team, I think, since Indiana to finish the season undefeated as a champion. But, you know, Baylor, we paid a lot of attention to them in the lead up to the championship game. I was on them a couple of times. I watched their games. And, man, those guys that they have in the backcourt, they're all dogs. Mitchell, Teague, and Butler. So if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be them. I didn't think that they were going to come out and bully Gonzaga the way that they did, because they came out and they were the more aggressive team from the jump. And yeah, I mean, hats off to the Baylor Bears. We got their first championship.
Yeah, athleticism really played a part for me in this game as far as, you know, playmaking ability by players, because the Gonzaga team is more chemistry. You know, they have 1 5-star in Jalen Suggs, and the rest is, you know, upperclassmen in Timmy, a guy who's going, you know, he's engaged, bro. He's got a family. Gonzaga they wanted it. They wanted it more, and I think that Big 12 schedule. I'm still not going to say Gonzaga didn't beat anybody, even though they beat Kansas and they beat Iowa. Kansas was a team that, you know, Texas beat up on this year. It wasn't Kansas' best year. They did beat Iowa also out of conference, but we saw Iowa just didn't have the defense. I mean, they won 1 game in the tournament. So Baylor was definitely more tested. I do think that played a factor, and I think that's why Baylor wasn't intimidated at all going into the game, because the whole season all we heard about was Gonzaga's perfect season and how this is the year for Gonzaga. This is the year for Gonzaga. And Baylor wasn't having none of it. They bought into none of it. They weren't intimidated. And that Big 12 schedule, I'm going to say helped. I'm going to say they were prepared for a tough game. So I was surprised also. I had Gonzaga winning just the undefeated season. And if this was a year, if they weren't going to win it this year, when are they going to win it, bro? I mean, we didn't have Duke in the tournament. We didn't have Kentucky in the tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
When are you going to win it? You know?
This was their year.
Yeah.
But Ben brought up a good point, though. The only guy that, you know, kind of took them over the top this year was Jalen Suggs. He's the only guy that, when you line him up against Baylor, has the athleticism to match those guys. And, you know, to Ben's point, Baylor did play that Big 12 schedule, and I thought they had some challenges in the tournament that they had to show some fight. You know, they had to come back in that Villanova game. I remember watching that game pissed because I took them to win by 6 points. I think that was a spread that game. They came back down double digits and won by double digits in that game.
Yeah, they kind of shut it down the whole second half.
Yeah.
Roland, do you think that UCLA took a lot out of Gonzaga?
Yeah, and, you know, a lot of people, I didn't think about it as much, you know.
Neither did I.
That is a sign of regression or a potential regression when you have such a high-intensity game. Obviously won at the buzzer, 92-90 or whatever the score was, 93-90. Something crazy, right? Yeah. The big emotional game. You know, you're dealing with teenagers, oldest guys on the team, probably 21, 22, just coming off of that high. It's a big thing to come up the next day or 2 days later and play against Baylor. But you think, and you kind of don't acknowledge it as much because it is a national championship, and you're like, how do you not get up for the national championship, right? Even if you're coming off of that big game. So that's why I didn't look into it as much. Although I probably should have now in hindsight, but it's hindsight. What are you going to do?
And Baylor seemed to have really turned it on because they dominated Houston also in the Final Four.
Yeah.
They really didn't leave. They were up early. They kept their foot on the throat. They did exactly what they did in that Final Four game to Houston. They did that to Gonzaga.
I was excited for that Houston game too because of the backcourt matchup, but Baylor showed who the better backcourt was, and it wasn't even close.
And
that night.
I was reading an article today that said Mitchell, his tournament play made him a first rounder.
Yeah, I agree too. He showed that he has probably, from what I've seen, at least this year, one of the quickest first steps out of the guards playing this year. So if you can get a guy on your hindside on your, you're going to have a chance at the next level.
And not only that, just his ISO game. I mean, that's what Baylor really had.
He was cooking the bigs all tournament.
Yeah, and they were kind of playing it NBA style to where they would get the switch and then they would just let him work. And if he wasn't going to get the wide open shot, he was dishing it, and they weren't missing. Baylor didn't miss that first half, and they were only up 10. It felt like
a 3 that first half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They went 9 for 9, I believe, on threes or 8 for 8, something like that. And they were only up 10, bro. So you still thought, Gonzaga weathered their best punch. That's the best that they got. And they just maintained it throughout the whole game. It was very surprising. The Jailer Bears, I mean, think about it. A couple years ago, they had a player murder another player.
That was like 20 years ago. That was a long time ago.
Dude, why'd you bring that up, man? That's
I was thinking about that the other day too.
No, but then I was just gonna keep going. They also had the rape allegations, didn't they?
Yeah.
Sean Oakman. But that's more of the football thing, but the athletic program in general.
The Jailer Bears is where I started, and that's why they're the Jailer Bears. But shout out to this coach, man. I guess he did a pretty good job. It was a pretty quick turnaround for Baylor, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I mean, he's had them competitive for a while. He's had them competitive since he's been there. They're perennial Sweet 16 team. Never really go over the hump when they play against
Florida State
guys. Yeah, exactly. But hey, they proved that they're the class of the NCAA this year. And to the first point, I want to go back to it. If you're Gonzaga, this was your year to win it. Obviously, I think this was their best chance that they've had in a long time to win it. Other than that year that they lost to North Carolina, I thought they had a good squad that year to compete with UNC. But
they were the favorites this time. They weren't the favorites.
They were the favorites this time. And then you just got to think: can you still keep on getting guys to go over there? I don't question Mark Few's ability to keep on getting 5 stars over there, but this was their best chance, and I'm interested to see at how they recover next year.
I've also heard that maybe their assistant coach might be getting one of these head coaching jobs that's opening up. The latest one was that Arizona job.
Oh, Sean Miller.
Today, yeah. He got out for 12 seasons.
Yeah.
Do you guys think this game goes any different if December 20, they end up playing each other? That game got canceled because of COVID. They would have had to look at each other at least already at that point.
Yeah, that's 3-4 months.
I think if that game plays out, and I mean, Baylor was just far, far more the more athletic team, bro. And in college, athleticism takes you a long way more than in the pros, because in the pros, everybody's got it. In college, if you're athletic, it gets you in the draft. It gets you into the pros because you can work on the skills. But Baylor just had at pretty much every position except point guard, they had the athleticism. They were quicker. They were more mobile. And on defense, they were just getting after it. They had more dog in them.
Yeah, I think Gonzaga can start pulling some top recruits. They're on the West Coast, right? They got a hot recruiting bed right there.
They did already. They got a top 5 player for next year. So they are rolling. But the thing is, like we said, all the blue bloods that weren't in the tournament this year, big missed opportunity for them.
Yeah, but then again, I also do want to point something out. Like, I think there is a shift happening in college basketball. Like, I don't think Duke is going to be dominant forever, right? Like, I think we're seeing a changing of the guard over here in terms of traditional powers. Yeah, and you see it too. Like, I mean, geographically, which is why I'm very, very impressed with like Michigan, for example, how they can continually keep on competing on the big stage, because you see players, they like to play on the coasts. They like to play the upper East Coast, or maybe play in the Southeast in Miami or something, whatever. I'm just trying to bring the point that it's impressive that Michigan can still get guys to go to Michigan and compete with these other teams when it comes to recruiting.
Well, next year, they got a little way too early top 25 going on, and Vegas has Gonzaga as the highest to win for next year. Some other mentionables will be UCLA, of course, with what they did in the tournament.
I guess they have a lot of players returning as well. Or?
Well, their projected starting lineup for UCLA will be Tyre Campbell, Ju Zhang, Jaquez again, Chris Smith, and Cody Riley coming back.
So Ju Zhang's not eligible for the draft?
He is eligible for the draft.
But
He just chose to come back, is what Justin.
What I'm reading off ESPN is that he's coming back. So
okay.
So I actually like that team a lot. They showed a lot of heart. They lost 10 games this season, but I don't think they're going to lose 10 games next season if they have some more depth.
They also didn't get to play the full schedule that a lot of the other conferences did, and that's why a lot of people were down on the Pac-12 going into the tournament because they played late as hell, so you really don't get to see them. They play on Pac-12 Network, and then half of their games were canceled. So,
yeah, not a lot of people got to look at UCLA this year. That was the thing that a lot of people were talking about. We kind of talked about it last week when we were previewing the championship that not a lot of people respected the Pac-12 coming into the tournament. They're usually the whipping boy for the NCAA in terms of the Power Fives, like saying that they're usually the weaker conference out of there. And you're questioning whether they're going to get more than one or two bids every year outside of the champion and the automatic bid. But this year, I think a lot of it was just people weren't watching games. Ben said you had some canceled, and they're playing when a lot of us are asleep. The East Coast is for sure asleep when they're playing. So they're not getting a lot of love out there. And that's why UCLA probably shouldn't have been an 11 seed. I thought it was cool that they put UCLA and Michigan State in the play-in game.
Well, they were, their first four in, too. Not only 11 seed, but first four in.
I did think that was pretty cool, putting two big schools in there and not just throwing in the Alcorn State versus Grambling in the first four or whatever. I thought that was pretty cool that they did that this year. More for ratings, I'm sure, to get people paying attention earlier on. But, I like this UCLA team. I like them a lot going in next year. And I like Mick Cronin. He's a good coach.
He is a good coach.
Overall, do you think this tournament delivered with the, the capacity of having COVID and all the other things being in a bubble? Do you feel like this was a good tournament regardless? Of course, you don't have the Blue Buds like Duke and Kansas and some of the other teams that you normally would have had.
I thought it was a good tournament. I think, with the whole – probably there not being a huge name, a huge like a Zion Williamson that you're going to pay attention to or something like that this year. Some people would probably say that they weren't as hyped up for the tournament, but I thought it delivered. I thought there were close games. I thought there were upsets. I mean, you had the most double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16 that there's ever been. And there wasn't a lot of COVID issues. I don't think I heard anybody having to miss a game because of COVID during the tournament. And that's because they were in a controlled environment, not necessarily a bubble. They were all playing in one city, like in Indianapolis. You had some guys playing games at the Hoosier Stadium and at Indiana University. You had other teams playing in the Lucas Oil the whole time, I guess. But good props to the NCAA for pulling it off. I know they had that whole issue with the NCAA women's tournament, which was also pretty entertaining towards the end. Have you watched the Final Four? I think the
Arizona game was good.
Yeah, I thought the NCAA delivered. Good tournament overall. If you love college basketball, this tournament was for you. I thought it was good.
For sure, I was satisfied as well, especially with not having one last year.
Yes, yeah, good point. Especially with not having one last year, I was itching for it because we love college basketball. I know Ben and I were watching it from the beginning of the year up until March Madness and.
Majors and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And also now that we're on the topic, our tournament challenge for the podcast. Frost, he won the tournament challenge. I think Justin, were you on Twitter the other day? You posted that nobody in our bracket had the winner. Nobody chose Baylor to win the challenge. So that's pretty crazy. And like Ben and I were talking about last week, you can watch every single game every year leading up to the tournament and still have a shitty bracket and still like not do good at all.
Three of my Final Four teams were out by the second round.
If you compare this year's brackets, like overall leaderboards, the leader this year, his bracket even was a lot. His point spread that he got was a lot less than past leaderboards. This year was a lot
Interesting.
different.
So I'd wonder
As
where
you said,
would
the
rank.
upsets.
Yeah, the upsets killed me, man. Like Oregon State, again, I didn't watch Oregon State play all year. I just went off of what a lot of people were saying. Pac-12 week conference, Oregon State, not so sure. They got hot in the tournament. Not sure they can keep up. Shit, they kept it up. They smacked Sister Jean, and I was surprised with that one. That's the one that got me. They smacked Sister Jean. I just had to say that. No disrespect to Sister Jean.
Bro, that's all. That's all.
Plus. We got to put a little respect on her on that one.
Hey, Sister Jean, forgive this.
She got smacked. Man.
But I thought it was
crazy that they were trucking her out there, though, man. Like they were throwing. Was she vaxxed? I hope she was fully vaxxed for them to be trucking her out there, man. I know she's like the school mascot.
At that age, I don't think you gotta have the vax. Like you're just risking it as it is. Like
man,
being outside.
Yeah. I digress. But yeah, a good tournament though.
Yeah, this might get weird. Let's not talk about it no more.
I digress.
Well, hey Roland, the experiments 1 year in.
Yeah,
development league, the G League versus college. And there was the number 1 recruit, Jalen Green. He decided to take the G League route. And I gotta ask you, do you think that hurts him in any way coming up for the draft? Because as you know, all eyes were on this tournament. And so you're not seeing people watch this G League games as much. I know you caught a few games because they're on during the day as well. They're not even on at night. They're on during the day. Does that hurt him any as far as going into the draft? Or does it help him because he played grown men fighting for roster spots, as you have mentioned before?
I think it helps him from a couple of perspectives. One, I don't think he hurt his draft stock at all. I think it's risky going straight to the G League instead of going to the college ranks because you are playing against grown men. You are in more of an NBA environment. I know this year was a little bit different because they were calling it like the Gubble. It was the G League bubble. They were down there in Orlando. They did what the NBA did and had their season and their playoffs in a bubble. But I think it helps them from the perspective that he had NBA scouts looking at him every step of the way. He was with NBA coaches, learning the ranks. I'm blanking out on who the coach is for that G League Ignite team, but I know it's somebody reputable. If I were to pull up his name, I think it might be Brian Shaw. I'm not. I don't want to be misspoken, but you get that NBA training the whole time. You're around NBA veterans. He had guys like Jarrett Jack on his team was a starting point guard. You're learning invaluable lessons from these guys on a nightly basis. The competition is better than the college ranks. And it was Brian Shaw.
Well, yeah. What were his numbers?
I don't think they were anything that stood out. I mean, it's not like one of those things where they threw him and Kuminga out there and they told them to play 40 minutes a game or 35 minutes a game. They were playing and sharing minutes with these other guys like they were part of a team. I got
his numbers here.
Pull them up.
32 minutes a game.
There you go.
18 points.
How many points?
3 assists. 18 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds.
Yeah, and Jalen Green, he's a guy. He proved that he can get his bucket at any level. That's why Justin, we're talking off air. He's a bucket getter. He knows how to get his own shot. He's going to be a wing player. He's super athletic, and his game translates to the NBA. And again, like I said, he was in front of NBA scouts this whole time. You have no question about the level of competition that he's played on the way up. So if anything, I think he answered a lot of scouts' questions. The risky side is you have all those NBA scouts looking at you. So let's say you go in there and you show that maybe you don't have as much potential or your game doesn't translate as well. Well, then the NBA scouts already know that. So there's not like a mystery around you. So I don't know. The mystery works for some players is what I'm saying in the draft process. Like you're like, ooh, like I haven't seen so much tape on this guy against good competition. Let's still take him at number 3 or number 4.
Look at Thon Maker. He was a YouTube sensation. Got drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a success. And also, like I said off air, I don't think it's for everybody. Like you need to have a certain level of maturity to be able to go straight into a G League setting. If you're one of these young guys thinking about doing that.
I have a question. What about the marketing perspective? Does it hurt him in any way when he's, getting a shoe deal? Because maybe the casual fan might not know anything about him at this point.
I think initially it might hurt him with the shoe deal and the marketability, because that is, I guess, the one downside is everybody at home probably doesn't know who Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga are, unless you watched them before.
So do more people know who they are, or do more people know who this Mitchell guard for Baylor is and Almas for Oral Roberts? Two guys who played in the tournament and saw their stock rise into what they're saying are now 2 first-rounders in the NBA based off the buckets that Almas was getting for Oral Roberts and Mitchell. So
I think more casual fans know
their games were on during the day.
Yeah.
The G League. Like, it was. And if you knew, you knew. You know what I mean? It's not like
if you're not like casual,
right? Like
I'm saying, if you're a casual fan, the casual fan knows Almas and Mitchell more than they know Green and Kuminga.
What about you, Ben? What do you think about this first-year experiment?
I mean, I don't know much about it. I think 18 points from the G League is pretty damn good, though. So I mean, I would call that a success. For sure. And I mean, if he was getting 32 minutes a game, like you said, it's good experience. But I mean, he wasn't in the limelight. He wasn't in the light. But that's a guy who already had the expectations of lottery pick. It's just the fact that he couldn't go straight from high school to the NBA. So it's not for everybody, like Roland said. You know what I mean? Plus was a guy who had to go and find his way through college.
Well, next year's top 2 recruits.
The crazy thing is,
though, go to either.
The crazy thing is, though, think about that guard Almas for Oral Roberts. If they don't make the tournament, he doesn't make the league, right?
Yeah, he probably ends up like in Europe or something. Yeah.
But they make the tournament, they win 2 or 3 games, and he's getting you 28, 26 points a game in the tournament. And now, he can get his own bucket. He's a little undersized, but we've seen undersized guys get buckets. So now he's getting a look, and now they're talking about first round. That's wild, bro. That's wild for a kid from a mid-major who came up, played JUCO, then ended up at Oral Roberts, and one run in the tournament, one Cinderella run, and maybe your team doesn't win it all, but you're gonna get drafted into the NBA and get that one payday.
Hell yeah! Yeah, you get all the eyes on you, and take advantage of it. So yeah.
Well, to keep on with the tournament. Like you said, stock up on those 2 kids. I got some names I want to bring up to you. And I want to start with Johnny Juzang out of UCLA. Let's say he does decide to go pro. Stock up or down after this tournament?
I didn't know who he was before the tournament, so for sure, stock up.
Yeah, stock up. I agree.
Now, where do you see him in the first round or falling to the second?
Yeah, I think he's a first-round guy. It's just what is he, a junior? Sophomore going to be a junior? Or
I actually think he's a freshman because he's last year at Kentucky.
The thing is, he has the skills to be a lottery-type guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just needs, like we said, UCLA didn't have that full season. And if you're saying that he is going back and they're going to give it one more run of, a full season and no hurdles to jump over
as right now because he hasn't announced.
So if he goes back and UCLA makes the exact same run and he does the same shit, then we're talking about lottery pick next for him. So and if we're talking about UCLA being the number 2 ranked team preseason going into the year, I would say it's a pretty good decision to go back, play it out, do what you're supposed to do as far as being the number 2 overall college ranked team, and your stock is only going to go higher. It's not going to go lower.
Let's move on to the center from USC, Evan Mobley, 7-foot center, had a good tournament. Brought USC to the Elite 8 at that point.
Elite 8,
went out. Yeah. Stock up or down on him?
I think it stayed about the same. I think going into the tournament, he was a top 3 draft pick, and I think he confirmed that he's a bucket at that center position. He's got a lot of moves. I like his game a lot.
I would agree. The most part stayed the same, but I think that somebody jumped him as far as a lot of people had Mobley going number 2. And I think due to him staying the same and, the guy who we're going to talk about next performing and even overperforming, I think that Mobley lost a little bit of juice with the way that the next guy performed.
Let's talk about the next guy, Jalen Suggs. Big shot over UCLA to get in. I brought him up. A lot of people right away said, "Hey, this kid could be number 2 right away after Cade Cunningham." What do y'all think there? Did his stock go up or down?
I think it went up.
Even with the finals performance, or the 2 fouls, you think it still goes up?
Yeah, I think it went up. I think it went up based on his performance in that UCLA game. Just playing against elite competition. Anytime you get in front of elite competition and that tournament setting and you do good the way that Jalen Suggs did, your stock's going to go up. So, yeah, I like his.
And the thing that stood out to me was, like you mentioned, like you alluded to, those 2 fouls that he picked up within the first 3-4 minutes of the game. And then Baylor just had control of that game when the coach sat him down. And then Mark Few was forced to bring him back with 10 minutes left in the first half. And, tell him, watch yourself, but if they didn't check him back in, there's no way that's a 10-point game at half. Usually coaches have a rule, the 2-foul rule. When a player gets 2 fouls in the first half, he's automatically on the bench until the second half, because in college it's only 5 fouls. So Mark Few is usually one of those guys. I know his percentile as far as 2 foul coaches, they even track this. Coaches that play players with 2 fouls, as far Mark Few's ranked way at the end. So 2 fouls usually sits him. But we saw how bad Gonzaga looked with him on the bench. There was nobody that was able to create, for others. So I think his stock went up. I think his stock for sure went up. I think that he jumped Mobley. I think the big man is always the safer route to go. We usually see teams go with the bigger guy, but Jalen Suggs, he has it, and you could see that he has it. We alluded to him taking Gonzaga over the top, and he is that guy. I think that he's like a Trae Young. I'm not saying he has a Trae Young type of range, but he to me is like a Trae Young type of player, is what I would compare him to.
Roland, anything else for college basketball that you want to cover, maybe for next year, some teams to look at, or is that just a little too early as it is right now?
I think it's a little too early. I think you brought up a good point with Gonzaga and UCLA being ranked in the top 2 coming back. I think Gonzaga, as we were talking about, as I was reading in their little synopsis for them being ranked number 1 next year, is they're hitting the recruiting trails. They already got a top 5 for a 5-star guard, and I think they're going to get
point guard replacement coming in as it is,
and they're going to get the number 1 overall prospect, is what they're saying right now. So, yeah, look out for Gonzaga. I want to see personally, like for me, how kind of like I said earlier, how I think that like Duke and all those teams are kind of falling by the wayside, and we're having a changing of the guard. I want to see that actually happens next year. Because I don't know if we're going to see like Duke and Kentucky like be the number 1 seeds that we're used to usually see them be in the future. So that's what I'd look out for.
I don't know if y'all talked about it last week, but North Carolina is going to have a new coach as well. Roy Williams is out.
Hubert Davis. Oh, good. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, Roy Williams.
He got fired. He retired. I thought the day that we recorded last week, we did say that he retired, but they found his replacement. And they also found Chris Beard's replacement over at Texas Tech. These teams promoting within, promoting assistants to take over. And what I'm looking forward to is Texas being a legitimate top 5 team next year under Chris Beard. That's what I'm looking most forward to. I think, like we said last week, I think it's safe to say Texas basketball is back as long as this guy's at the week. Chris Beard, he's one of the more respected coaches. So I'm pumped for Texas basketball going forward.
I really didn't think Chris Beard was going to be a possibility for Texas, because he's at like a $4 million salary. I never thought, Texas would pay their basketball coach nearly what they're paying their football coach.
Oh, well, Texas, they're trying to get their wins anywhere they can get them right now, right? Texas athletics isn't what it used to be.
This is the Urban Meyer hire that they couldn't make in football, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chris
was the best guy out there. It was hands down the best coach out there.
He wins in the Dallas area. He consistently got Dallas area kids to go to Lubbock. So if he can get some of those kids to go to Austin, Dallas is a basketball hotbed.
I want to say Austin's an easier sell than Lubbock. No, not knocking Lubbock, but it's
That's exactly what Ben and I were telling Richie.
We're fucking
last
knocking
week.
Lubbock. We're not.
Well, I'm not gonna do that because I got family
Tumbleweed
there.
ass town.
It's Lubbock. Like they probably have like one main road or something like that with one.
Yeah, I
light.
went to Lubbock one. I mean, partying's cool, but there's literally nothing else to do.
So that's why you have to give coaches props to get guys to go to places like that. Like Michael Leach was getting people to go to Lubbock all those years. Like he got Michael Crabtree to go to Lubbock. I thought that was pretty impressive. So, whatever.
Well, let's move on out of NCAA basketball.
Alrighty.
So another week, more development coming in on Deshaun Watson. It's something that we'll cover as much as we can up until the season starts, just because of the caliber of player he is and what he is for the team or potential team if he ends up getting traded. Which
it's front page news. Front page news.
Regardless of the newspaper, it's not even front page sports. It's front page news altogether.
Man, imagine if Ben was still a Texans fan. That'd be fun.
He's down inside. He's hurting because he called him a future Hall of Famer.
Ben hopped ship at the right time. He doesn't have to deal with this baggage.
Hey,
did you know what was going on, Ben? Is that
Ben has inside information when it came to the Texans. He knew. That's why.
Private investigator had already seen this.
What do they call this, Roland? When someone sells off stock because they know something's gonna happen?
Insider trading, man.
That's what Ben had. Insider trading. He knew he had to jump ship because it was going down.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So this week they had two victims come out and show themselves, give out statements about their encounter.
Pretty powerful stuff
with Watson. Yeah, it was, and they did this on Tony Busby's Insta Live is where they did this.
2021, man.
Yeah, who's a lawyer representing the 22 women. So yeah, it was a bad hour for Deshaun Watson is what it was.
Bad look.
This lawsuit also took a weird turn because Busby came out and said, I have some criminal evidence that I can present, but I don't want to present it to the Houston Police Department because the lawyer defending Watson has a son, I believe, on the PD, and he's afraid of what would happen. Have you present it, what will happen to that? So that took a weird turn as well.
Yeah, I think as soon as this thing goes criminal, it's already serious, right? We're already we're at 20 girls, or just to say it was serious at one. Let's put it that way. But you have 20 people who've come out and said that you've done some level of harassment to them. You've had 2 girls already go on Instagram Live and make official statements. And I heard some of the statements. I was listening to like ESPN radio yesterday, and I heard some of it. And it's, whatever side, we're not here to victim shame. We're not here to determine innocence or guilt. But just hearing the girl give her perspective of what happened, you have to be soulless not to be affected by that or to feel the emotion coming from her. So definitely not a good look for Watson. I talked about it last week. Just getting to the X's and O's and the football side of things, no way he touches the field week 1. This thing, while it's not criminal, and we were talking off the line that maybe he comes away from this all unscathed in the criminal court, right? Let's just say he does. But that process, as I've heard, is going to take a long time. This is not going to be settled by week 1. And the NFL has always taken the tact of putting those kind of players or players with those situations on the exempt list, not necessarily suspending them, but putting them on the exempt list and saying, you need your off the field stuff to be settled first before you can play on the football field.
How long would you, obviously we don't, but there's several months before the start of the season.
But there's 20 cases against him. And
we
don't know if other people will come out now too.
And I'm not citing for him, but it would be expensive as hell. But the lawyer did say that they were seeking $100,000 payment.
I think that's over now.
Now that it's turned criminal, I believe that's over. I think.
But we see a lot of this type of stuff. Not that we see a lot of it, but we've seen players in situations like these before and settle.
Yeah, but there's 20 girls. I think he's past the point of settling. I think you brought it up last week. He should have settled in the beginning before this even got to a big old media thing. And he did have the opportunity to do that. They posted an email in one of the articles that I was reading between the lawyer Busby and Watson's representative saying, here's the settlement. This is what we want. And then Watson's representatives are like, oh, this will be a good learning lesson for Deshaun Watson and blah, blah, blah. And then that kind of like broke off, contact. So go ahead, but I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just saying.
I'm not. The thing is, like, we've seen players with the rape allegations. Now, this isn't rape. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Still assault, bro.
And it's serial behavior because it's 20-some. But rape is, isn't rape different? And we've seen players accused of rape and come out scotch-free. We saw Ben Roethlisberger was one of the big ones. Now, albeit Deshaun Watson, Ben Roethlisberger, there's an obvious difference in the two, right? And I don't know.
I think the big difference is 1 versus 20. That's the big difference. Like, I think Ben, he settled his thing in an off season. He got it over with before it even became a huge thing from what I remember. I know it was reported on. I know it was talked about, but I think it was settled pretty quickly. And I think you also bring up a good point, though. Big Ben.
And I don't want to get like weird and stuff, but like penetration is different, right? Like, does that change anything or no?
I don't think it changes anything for the psyche of the woman, though. It's assault regardless.
Yeah. And again, we're not here to discuss that either.
No, but we're talking about legal ramifications. Does penetration make it more? Would penetration, like
rape? Just say rape.
Right. Would rape have more ramifications?
I think so, because I think rape could go up to 20 years, while sexual assault is.
Do we expect Deshaun Watson to do any jail time?
I don't think so, because there's no rape involved necessarily. So I don't think that's really on the table necessarily. But I'm no counselor. I'm no lawyer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like
those are good questions to bring up, though.
Like I said, it's serial behavior, so that does make it really bad because the fact that we're talking about 22 women, like, that's weirdo shit. He's a fucking weirdo.
I was talking to Roland before this, and I actually was listening to a lawyer, and the lawyer suggested that he believes Deshaun will win this case. The reason why he believes it'll go towards Deshaun's favor is because these women waited a while before they reported, and they didn't go to the cops. Instead, they went straight to a money issue, and it's really hard to prove, according to him, this is not my words, sexual assault in court.
Who's this guy? Who is this guy?
It's a lawyer on YouTube. I'll see if I can post a video to you.
A YouTube lawyer?
No, he's a real lawyer. He was just talking about it. Not a YouTube lawyer. But he was saying it's hard not to prove the consent wasn't there for these kind of cases. Now, we have seen in the past the NFL give down a ruling and a judgment of their own, regardless of what the criminal court case has said. And the NFL is going to look at all these women, and they've started their investigation with each one of them. Like Roland said, this can take some time.
There's a court of law, and then there's the NFL court of law. For sure. There's two separate things. That's why, like we talked about last week with Zeke Elliott, never proven guilty of anything. Never even really even went to court, still got suspended.
Right. Settled.
Yep.
Is settling admitting guilt?
No, I don't think so necessarily. I just think it's like you don't want to deal with all of the stuff that comes with proving your innocence.
I agree with Roland. It's not admitting guilt. I think you're just,
could to some people
compensating somebody for.
Do you think some people see settlements as guilt?
Yes, I think so.
Why pay if you're innocent? Obviously, like, the court of law is a whole different system to have to go through.
Yeah, but even
we've seen innocent people be charged guilty. We've seen
and guilty people charged innocent. It's not a perfect system.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you can avoid it altogether,
he had a chance to do it, but he didn't. I think he was playing like I have this reputation card. No one's it's not gonna. It blew up in his face.
He has that character that everybody speaks of. At one point, his college coach Dabo called him the Michael Jordan of the league. So
And
I mean, Mike used to get busy. I mean, Mike used to get busy, but not like
did you
weirdo
hear about
stuff,
it at all?
and not weirdo stuff like this. No, but there wasn't social media back then either and shit. But like this is weird. Like Mike was getting busy. This is just weird shit.
Well, the
won't
other
be
thing
on the
to
field
talk
week
about
one.
it,
Won't be on the field week 1.
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
he'll be on the commissioner's exempt list.
I'm just trying to play some devil's advocate for the sake of the topic and to look at it, from every angle that we can. Like I said, he's a weirdo. Like there's no two ways about it.
He hasn't said anything at all. I mean, I wouldn't be saying anything either right now, but he's gone completely quiet.
Right.
When these things happen, we tend to see, companies who sponsor these athletes just pull out of their deals altogether. Deshaun has had a unique case. He's had Nike and Beats by Dre not necessarily ending their deal, but suspending their deal. Now, do you think they can have some sort of working relationship if he is proven innocent? Will they continue his contract and continue to, support him as an athlete and sponsor him? We've
seen Nike drop players and then later get them back. I mean, Tiger Woods, right? Wasn't Tiger Woods a prime example?
I think they stood by him. They were one of the only ones that stood by Tiger. But to your point, it's not crazy to think that he could be repping Nike again.
And the fact that they suspended it and didn't terminate it, I think that Beats did terminate it. I think that Nike suspended it. So I think that Beats just said we're out, and Nike did suspend it. They're waiting, but they don't want his name attached to them at the moment, so they're suspending it. Kind of like, I mean, they're waiting innocent until proven guilty, right? I guess that's
just a lot of heat right now.
Right, that's what Nike's doing.
Yeah, the kitchen's hot on him right now.
No doubt.
Under fire. Well, let's move on to the NFL since we are already talking about an NFL player.
The draft, baby.
And it's the draft coming up. And as you know, it's quarterback hot right now. A lot of quarterbacks coming in, but not necessarily for the Dallas Cowboys. The latest report coming out of Dallas is that Jerry Jones is infatuated with Florida's tight end, Kyle Pitts. Roland, is this too much offense already as it is? Do we already have what we need? Do we need another tight end who's kind of a receiver in a way, the way he's built?
Well, I'm not knocking Kyle Pitts at all because I think he's going to be the next Travis. He's Travis Kelce 2.0. More athletic Travis Kelce.
More athletic, yes.
I think he's going to be a monster in the next level. Don't get me wrong. But the Cowboys should not even be thinking about Kyle Pitts. He's a top 5, top 6 pick. The Cowboys are at 10. You'd have to give up some stuff to get there.
Do you pay King's ransom to get there?
No, not for
tight end.
No, I'm saying, do you have to get there?
Yeah, you do. And I think Atlanta knows because Atlanta, they're kind of in a good position right now. They have Matt Ryan, who, depending who you talk to, is good for another 1 to 2 years. They don't necessarily have to go quarterback. They're open to moving around out of that 4 pick, and they know guys want to move up. So, yeah, it's going to take the King's ransom to get there, especially if you want Kyle Pitts. But the Cowboys should not be thinking about him. I mean, they already have a really good offense. They have some holes on defense. I don't know if you guys watched them play last year. They had a good chance. They had a good chance lining Ben up at free safety and lining him up at defensive line or defense tackle. I don't know, whatever. They have a lot of holes. That's all I'm trying to say.
Hey, they would have been better, I'll guarantee.
Yeah.
Ben to the NFL, starting it now.
I want them to draft one of the top 2 cornerbacks. The guy out of Alabama, I know his name's Surtain. Or the guy out of, I think, South Carolina is the other guy, J.C. Horn, who's Joe Horn's son, former receiver from the Saints.
Both have NFL pedigree dads.
Yeah.
Lineage right there.
Yeah, lineage. That's who they need to be looking at. Jerry Jones does this every couple of years. He did it with Johnny Manziel. He was obsessed with Johnny Manziel. Just had to get him. I've never said that I would jump ship from the Cowboys, but I did say that year if they drafted Johnny Manziel, that'd be a hard wrap. It'd be a wrap for as me as a Cowboys fan. But we all know they ended up drafting Zach Martin, who's one of the best picks that they've had. So no, we don't need Pitts. But hypothetically speaking, let's just say they do it. They give up whatever they have. Man, that's like they become the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFC. That's the best offense of the NFC right there. That's all I got to say.
If Jerry Jones' infatuation with Pitts has to stem from the payday he just gave Dak.
Yeah, you want to make it look good.
He can't have Dak fail. Not with all the money he just paid him. Hey, buddy, We're gonna give you every weapon you need, and if you fail, it's on you. That's what. But I mean, I hope that they do it just for comedy purposes.
Dude, I want it. I know it's stupid, but I want it. That kid's special.
No, I want it for comedy
There's
purposes.
no bust in him. That guy's
say,
gonna be a
I
star.
was having a fairly good offseason until I heard this news. I'm like, gosh, there always
You're
always
gonna
has
have
to be something.
scoring 40 to win.
There
If you
always
go
has
and
to be something with these guys.
Waste your first round.
We
pick.
might be dead last on defense,
Yeah,
but that offense is gonna put up points if you get them.
Everybody wants to point to, oh, they changed defensive coordinators. They went from Mike Nolan to Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn doesn't play cornerback. He doesn't strap on the helmet and go play. I mean, it's not going to be that big of a change, from my opinion, going from one coach to the other.
And
you got to get talent.
The fact that you just drafted a DB also, and you go DB again, you have your young core of first round DBs. You pair them up. So I think that's the move. That's the move for sure.
It doesn't cost you to get the DB because he's going to be available at your draft pick.
One of the
Yep, one of the two will be there at 10. I agree.
Now, let's say somehow, some way, there is a free agent out there, Richard Sherman. Dallas Cowboys land him now somehow, pay him what he wants. That's reasonable. Would you then consider it, Roland, going after Pitts?
I guess. I think Sherman's more of a Band-Aid for 1 year. I don't think it's a long-term solution. Sherman doesn't have a lot of football left in him. I think he's still a quality player, don't get me wrong.
He already said he's waiting until after the draft to sign him as well.
And he's more of like he's like a B player to me now. He's no longer an A player. He's like a B minus, B plus on his best day. His best days are behind him, but it would be an improvement from what we have.
And the guy that you're drafting would be a B right now, but with the potential to become an A. I think that Sherman's A potentials, that's in the past already.
Yeah, B plus is his highest ceiling.
Yeah, just get the young
days.
Just pair up the young guys, man. Especially if it's Surtain, wouldn't that be 2 Alabama DBs there?
Yep.
2 Alabama DBs, baby.
Like if that's already chemistry that they've had from there. So that seems like the obvious move if he's available.
Yeah, you could maybe even later on move Surtain to safety. He's like 6'2".
Yeah, and it's just crazy, when you get closer to the draft, that's when you start hearing these stories. But Justin, as a Cowboys fan, and me being a Cowboys fan also, I mean, we're used to this. There's always something that comes up every offseason about Jerry Jones. It happened with our linebacker that we drafted from Notre Dame. Jalen Smith. We were obsessed with him and the fact that he could fall to the second round, and we thought we were getting a first rounder, all this stuff. Ended up drafting him with the first pick in the second round or something like that. We fall in love with the hot topic or the flavor of the week here in Dallas when Jerry Jones is still running things. He's going to get excited. I remember the one offseason he wanted to trade up to get Darren McFadden, his Arkansas running back from his from his former school at Arkansas. He wanted to trade up and get him number 1 his year. So these things always come up. They don't always happen. But I won't go out and say that drafting Pitts is like the worst thing in the world. Is it what the Cowboys should do? No. I think the best thing to do is get your cornerback situation lined up. But if you go and get him, man, I mean, you do have the best receiving core in the league. It's the worst.
Just on turf at that point.
It's the worst thing you can do because of the price that you would pay just to move up a couple
of
spots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what, like, if you draft
first rounders, you're gonna give up.
I would say maybe he's there, like in a perfect world, he's there at 10. I can then be like, cool.
Yeah,
he fell into your lap. You have to.
Right. That's fine, whatever. But if you're giving up picks to go get a tight end and you have bigger needs, then that's the worst thing you could do.
That's crazy. Yeah, I agree.
And Sherman, I just expect Sherman to title chase. I expect him to sign with a contender. See the way the draft, fills out. He's a smart dude, bro. I mean, the guy's very outspoken. We know how smart.
And with the Bucks or the Chiefs, any chance?
I don't know about the Bucks because the Bucks seem to have their DBs already, but the Chiefs is definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, the Colts. I mean, I could see him going to a team that has a shot.
What about AB? Any chance he resigns with the Bucks? I know he's been, chiming on social media to get re-signed with them. He wants to play again with them. What do y'all think there?
Yeah, I think he stays with his boy Brady. I think the only other team that I've heard him linked with, and that's just more out of Russell Wilson wanting to play with him, is the Seahawks. That's the only other destination that I see for him.
three receivers they would have. DK and
Yeah, but they also just re-signed Lockett. They just gave Lockett a new deal.
Yeah, they just gave him some money for sure.
I think that it's the Bucks. He likes playing with Brady too damn much, and he wants to win, man. And he knows that Brady's going to win.
Well, moving on with this college quarterback situation, we got a lot of prospects, but the one that's coming up is Justin Fields. He's going to have a second pro day. Roland, do you think this is a tryout pretty much for the Niners? Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are expected to attend. He did have a really good first pro day. He ran a 4.440. What do you think here? Is this pretty much his
Is this normal? Is this normal?
I was going to say,
pro day is not normal.
A, the second pro day is not normal, and B, to answer Justin's question, I think that's exactly what it is. Kyle Shanahan wasn't there at the last pro day. His first pro day was on the same day as Mac Jones, as we all know. Shanahan was there at the Alabama pro day watching Mac Jones throw to
And there's just more to see at Alabama pro day.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of other prospects there. Yeah, there's a lot of you got guys that you might draft in the second and third round going out there. So maybe it was a little bit of smoke and mirrors, Shanahan and them being at Mac Jones's pro day. But I do think it's a great opportunity for Justin Fields. Do I think he needs to be doing this? No. I think we all know who Justin Fields is. I think he's a great player. I think he's been overanalyzed a lot. That's why I'm not going to go out here and follow what all the draft guys are saying and putting like Zach Wilson and Mac Jones and even some guys putting Trey Lance above him. I'm not going to go out there and do that. I have Justin Fields slotted in at number 2. It's tight with him and Wilson, but I think it's a good tryout day, and that's exactly what it is. He's trying out for the Niners because, man, if I'm the 49ers, if I'm a 49ers fan, I'm pissed off that they traded all of that to go to number 3 and get Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Or Trey Lance.
I think I don't think that he has to do this, Roland, like you said, but I think that it's a great opportunity because right now the draft starts at 3 as far as what everybody's hearing. Lawrence is going 1 and Wilson's going 2 to the Jets, especially with them, moving Sam Darnold. Yeah, it's pretty set in stone, the first 2 picks. So the draft starts here, and we saw the Niners make this move. Like you mentioned, they weren't at their pro day due to it being on the same day. Have a good pro day, and you're the number 3 pick. I mean, right? It's pretty much that simple.
I think so.
I think so, unless, the Niners are really just locked into Mac Jones being a fit for them and what they want to do offensively, that there's nothing that Justin Fields can do. But I tend to lean on the other side that they're not decided on who they want to take at 3.
They wouldn't make him do a second pro day if they were locked in on Mac Jones.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a little bit of indecisiveness there, and rightfully so, man. I just don't think you can be that sold on Mac Jones at 3 if you're the Niners.
Yeah, you didn't have to trade up all the way to 3 to get Mac Jones.
Because let's just call it what it is. Before this year, nobody was thinking about Mac Jones as a draft prospect. I'm just being truthfully honest. I don't think I saw any draft who didn't have him in the top 5 for the top 3 quarterback situation.
Not at all. Last year when he had to come on, it looked bad for Alabama.
Yeah, he played himself into it. Congratulations to him. I think he's a solidified top 10 pick now, and a lot of that was because of his play on the field. But as a prospect, I don't think there's too much to like about this guy. I don't think he has the highest ceiling in the world, honestly. I think Mac Jones has a chance to be a good starter in the league, like a B player, B plus on his best day, or a backup quarterback for the rest of his life. And at 3, that's crazy, man, because Justin Fields has all-star potential.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, and then we'll see who gets Mac Jones after that. Because I don't know if the Falcons go Mac Jones.
So you're that sold on Zach Wilson being that talent?
I'm sold on Zach Wilson being the Jets guy. Is what I'm sold on.
Okay.
That's what I'm sold on. I think everybody knows that that's their guy at this point.
So do we all like Justin Fields over Mac Jones here?
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Just a dual threat.
Not even close for me at this
Dual
point.
threat that's all I need is dual threat.
A lot of guys are throwing out, and I like actually this new guy. He's a Bleacher Report guy, but he's on ESPN now. Matt Miller. He threw out a pretty good comp for Justin Fields. He sees a lot of Justin Herbert and Justin Fields. I can see that comparison a little
Herbert
bit.
did this year.
Yeah, and Herbert was one of those guys. I was not in on him. I knocked him. We were doing pre-draft coverage, the podcast at this time, and I didn't like Herbert, and
He's-
I missed out big time. Rookie of the year.
He's more Herbert, or he's more. He has more Herbert in him, or does he have more of Hurts in him?
I think he has more Herbert in him. He's a way better thrower than
Way better
Hurts.
than Hurts.
Okay.
Well, today
I
was
have
a
my
big-
question marks on him, but I definitely think he's better than Mac Jones.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, 100%. Well, moving on to golf. Today opened up the Masters. Augusta.
Yeah.
Did y'all catch any of that going on today?
Yeah, I had it going on in the background in my living room. Just had it on the TV. I think it was ESPN at the Masters that I was watching. So I wasn't following anybody in particular. I wasn't watching that closely, but I did have it on.
Well, it's no secret Justin Rose is up on the day. Finished with the -7. Next up is Harmon at -3 and Matsuyama at -3. Guys, it's still 3 more days. It's still Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a lot of time for some movement. Do you like anybody in the tournament that you're seeing right now to move up or move down?
I'll let Ben take this one.
Yeah, I watched closely today. It helped get me through work, and ESPN actually has the coverage where you could follow the featured group, which today they had Brooks Koepka in the morning, Dustin Johnson, some of those guys
there,
and then the Amen Corner, which is another 3 holes, and then they have holes 4, 5, and 6, and then they have holes 15 and 16. So if you're the player that you want to follow, for example, answers a player that a lot of people from the Valley like to follow, or that we like to follow, you can go to by holes and catch him when he's playing that hole.
Hell yeah.
But as far as players that I like to move up, Patrick Reed, Houston guy, Texas guy, but he was
currently tied for 4 -2.
Yeah, and he should have been higher, but he bogeyed the last hole of the day. He was at -3 as well. Matsuyama at -3. They were all hanging around there, and then Justin Rose just had that run on the back 9. I think he had like 6 birdies in the 9 holes. Wild, but Patrick Reed, I like him to move up in the standings, and he's a guy who's won the Masters before as well.
I like that. That's a good pick. I think Justin Rose, I don't think he is going to maintain this. I think you guys were talking about just his front 9. He was 2 over par and then really turned it up in the back 9. I don't think he's going to stay consistent for the rest of the weekend. So I wouldn't put too much stock in his lead right now, although it is a 4-stroke lead. He does have some room to play with.
The course is tough. The course is tough. Like
And
birdies aren't that common to come by.
Exactly. So and to that point, that's why I don't see anybody that's too far behind right now that's going to make a crazy comeback, because birdies are hard to come by. So I think
4-stroke lead, like if he chokes it, it's going to be a choke job, bro.
Yeah. So, and just to keep the theme, I don't like anybody really out of the top 5. I do like Webb Simpson. I think he has a pretty good short game. He's going to get his birdies when he can. So I like anybody to move up. It's Webb for me. So, but yeah, I want to see how Spieth handles it. He's a guy who's been in form recently. I know before he got into his recent form, there's a lot of people questioning whether or not he was like mentally broken or like his game was broken.
It was 1,300 days since he won last.
Yeah, exactly. So he went through that big drought. Golf is a big mental game. So props to him for seemingly, overcoming some of his demons and getting on the right side of things. So I want to see how Spieth finishes out the weekend. He's a Texas guy. And he's in a decent spot right now. He's still a couple of strokes behind, but I could see a top 10, top 5 finish for Spieth if he turns it up.
Roland, I'm with you on the Justin Rose thing. With 3 more days of golf, it's hard to maintain that lead. I don't see him staying there.
Hey, we should do I think he stays there. So if he does stay there, next podcast, you all have to shotgun a beer. How about that?
I can't.
Roland, will you do it?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Probably won't be fast, but I'll do it.
That's fine. And if he does choke it, I don't know, shotgunning a beer is kind of like a party to me. So we can think of something that I wouldn't enjoy doing maybe.
And you know what? We'll do that, but in 6 months.
I was going to say, like, you'd want that to happen.
I'll
So
do
you
that.
can
That's what I'm saying, but I don't want him to choke though.
No, yeah, the Masters is going to be awesome, though. Like Ben said, it helps you get through work during the day. You got that going on. MLB was going on today. So yeah, it's a great time to be a sports fan.
And tomorrow,
I feel like I've said that for a while.
Sunday
tomorrow-
at the Masters is the best. Also,
yeah,
It's just-
tomorrow the good players like Spieth and all the guys that are up at the top right now, they're teeing off early tomorrow because they teed off late today. So tomorrow at 8:30, 9 o'clock, you're gonna have the big dogs out there on the course.
Gotta have our second round matchup plays in early. But yeah, Masters should be fun. But this weekend though, like Justin was saying, you got the Masters on Sunday. Probably going to have some pretty good NBA basketball going on Sunday with some MLB. So it's going to be the sports bettor's dream. And then on Saturday, you're going to have the Masters, UFC, which we'll talk about later, and some NBA. So
you watch Bellator, too.
Bellator this weekend is loaded with sports. But
WrestleMania, if you're a WrestleMania fan.
WrestleMania, and I heard WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, but WWE. I don't know the details about it, and I know we don't have it on the list. But did they do some kind of deal with DraftKings now?
Yeah, they had a DraftKings deal. DraftKings will be handling their sports betting,
which is crazy because I know you can.
Oh, DraftKings is going to know what the fix is.
I was going to say you've always been able to bet on WWE. You've always been able to, but their problem has been with leaks and the winner getting leaked from the writers. So that's going to be interesting to see how that kind of gets worked out. But as I mentioned, this weekend is loaded with sports. We just got done talking about the Masters, which is going to be on tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. But let's get into the NBA. We love talking about the NBA here. I always say it's a gift that keeps on giving. It's on every night, and there's always drama. Like I think 2 nights ago, the Lakers and the Lakers and the Raptors got in a little kerfuffle. They got in a little scuffle out there with OG Anunoby, and then I saw Montrezl Harrell go out there looking at
Dennis Schroeder.
Dennis Schroeder too. And I just want to, it's not on the list, but it's worth talking about from a teammate perspective. Do you like what Harrell came out and said that he's looking to throw hands or anybody's an enemy that doesn't have a Lakers jersey on? You like that?
That's Harrell, bro. That's Harrell. That's the role that comes with having Harrell on your team. Like, he's a dog.
That's the grit you get from a guy like that.
Same thing with Boogie. I mean, we saw earlier this year, didn't Boogie have a scuffle with, I believe it was the Clippers, because they were trying to punk out a rookie on the Rockets, and Boogie did the exact same thing. Yo, you push him, I'm gonna come and push you. Like, you need those guys on your team because they give you the attitude, that edge. Marcus Smart. I mean, it's
biggest dog there is right there.
Yeah, Draymond Green. Like, it's guys that give the team that energy. So
Morris from the Clippers,
Patrick Beverly,
Patrick Bev.
Yeah, you need those guys. I
know LeBron liked watching that too. He was on the sideline of that game, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, NBA, man, stuff's going on. But big thing that we got to talk about first. Because I think we all here have the Nets coming out of the East.
Let's talk about the future NBA champs. Let's talk
about them. They got their big dog back, or I mean, depending who you ask, maybe their second biggest. Yeah, maybe their second big dog because James Harden is taking the reins right now, although he just left with injury. But they just got back Kevin Durant, and he went off last night. He looked like a beast
from the field.
Was on a little bit of a minutes restriction. He only played about 20 minutes, and they didn't need him for much more than that. They won by about 30 over the Pelicans last night. So with Durant coming back, Harden leaving with a sore right hamstring and the timetable on him being unknown, do you think this is something to worry if you're the Nets, or are you happy that you got back KD and whenever Harden comes back, it's all groovy?
I don't think you worry because of where you're sitting. Like, they had that game against the Knicks where no Harden, no KD, and then it was just Kyrie's turn. Kyrie had everybody in the blender, and the Nets won. But the thing that is worrisome, like if you're looking at it as far as analytics and out on the floor and not on paper, is the fact that they haven't played together that long.
Only 7 games.
Right. But like, they get along. Harden has played with KD before. That it can happen, but the fact that it hasn't and you haven't seen it and you haven't seen that chemistry build is kind of worrisome. But I mean, the talent is, I think it's second to none.
The talent's good enough to get them to the finals.
With the Lakers right behind them, because these guys have 3 players that you could argue are top 5, top 7. Just to put Kyrie in there, maybe top 7.
Kyrie at his peak, top 7 player.
Yeah, top 10 currently, but the Lakers have 2 arguably top 5 guys 2 top 10 guys, but the Nets have 3. So with them, I don't think you have to worry. I really don't, because they have guys that have won MVPs. They have guys who won championships, guys who can get their own buckets, guys who can get others involved. It's the Nets to lose right now, man. Especially with these pickups. With Blake Griffin, looks like he's back. If he just takes, the second night of a back-to-back off, he's going to be all right. LaMarcus Aldridge had 3 dunks yesterday.
He had a dunk yesterday.
The buckets are just coming way easier because of all the talent that they have with Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. That's what's happening for the other guys.
So do you think, Justin, I'll turn it to you a little bit. Do you think that you need all 3 big guys? Do you think you need all 3 of the Nets' big 3 active and healthy to win the finals or to get to the finals? Do you need KD and Harden at least, or KD and Kyrie at least, or Harden and Kyrie at least?
I think the Nets can get to the finals with 2 of their 3.
Okay.
But to win against the Lakers, I think you need all 3.
I agree.
Because if you're down 1, then you got a series. You really do.
Yeah.
But if they're all 3, everyone's healthy, everyone's good to go. I hate to say it, man, but I'll take the Nets in 6 at that point. Wow. The way they're looking right now, and I hate to say it.
I don't think that they make the finals if it's Kyrie and one of the other guys. I think it has to be Harden and KD if it's only 2.
That's what I was about to say. That's the 2 that I would give the best chance.
Yeah,
hit the panic button though already, because we're supposed to have AD back already, and he's still not. So the panic button's on for me.
He's supposed to come back next week. I know.
The Celtics.
Yeah,
but earlier this week, Coach said it's still a while out.
Yeah.
So there's conflicting reports coming out. So
they
you don't know what to expect now.
They did give dates for LeBron and AD though for their return.
And LeBron already made like an Instagram post too, talking about the comeback is right around the corner. So he's not posting if it's not soon. So they're going to be back before the season starts. I mean, before the playoffs start, no doubt in my mind. But before we hop over to the West Coast, just want to clear one thing up. We all have the Nets winning the East. We're not worried about Embiid coming back and looking like the MVP that he was before he left.
No, nothing to worry about.
They're not going to be able to stop Embiid, but I mean, after that, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, the talent just really doesn't stack up. Although the 76ers to me are their biggest threat.
Same here, I agree.
Just because of the defensive matchup. I mean, you got Danny Green, you got Ben Simmons, you got Tobias Harris. Like, those are guys that you can throw on Durant, Harden, Kyrie. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they're going to shut them down, but they're going to make life hard because they're good defenders.
Yeah, I think you need all 3 guys to beat that team.
Okay. And I don't think that the Nets have anybody to keep Embiid from averaging 30 and 10 in a playoff series.
Nobody.
But after that, you know what I mean? After that, it gets iffy. The Nets are going to give you 2-3 guys with 25-20 a game, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. So that's the East Coast. I think that was pretty quick. I think we all got the Nets, and Durant was the big name that came back this week. I think he missed like at least 20 games with that hamstring soreness. So glad to see him back. Definitely the best offensive threat in the game, at least from our current generation, I think, is still Kevin Durant. 7 foot, moves like a guard. But, moving on to the West Coast, and before we get into, talking about who we think is going to win the West Coast, a big name, if you're a basketball fan, you've known about him for a while, just came back, and he signed with a contender. Boogie Cousins signs with the Clippers, kind of gives him that mean threat that we were just talking about with Montrezl Harrell. Do you guys think this is a big signing? Do you think he sees minutes in the playoffs? What are your thoughts on Boogie Cousins at this point in his career?
Justin, I saw you shaking your head no.
Yeah, we saw him what he was with the Rockets. He is in his best shape as far as his body goes, but the dude can't bang in the post anymore. He's going to be a 3-and-D sort of kind of guy. And in the playoffs, when they need to rely on somebody, I'm not scared of Boogie at this point in his career. Just not.
Yeah, he's more of like a glue guy, maybe get you some minutes, give you some fouls, and hit a couple of buckets here and there. But I'm sure they're not counting on a lot from him, maybe just to wrap up that rotation.
10, 15 minutes, and they've had Ibaka injured as well for, it seems, like almost a month now. Their only other big is, that the Lakers traded to them, Justin, what's his name? Big white boy, Zubac. So, I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, 10, 15 minutes a game. You know what I mean? He'll stretch the floor for you on offense. Let Kawhi work that mid-range. It's a decent pickup. It's a good vet to have. We expected him to be on a contender after the Rockets let him go. You know, we heard rumblings that maybe a return to the Lakers, possibly a fit with the Celtics. He ended up landing on the Clippers, a team that if they have a need, I mean, we saw them fill the need of point guard with Rondo. The other, hole was
a bigger pickup than Cousins to me.
no, 100% he was. I mean, that was their biggest hole. But the fact is they did need some more big bodies. And DeMarcus Cousins is a big body with a lot of experience. Not saying he's going to go out there and be a main piece, but you can count on 10, 15 minutes from him.
And he's one of those guys that's talented, and he's supremely talented. Let's not forget about what DeMarcus Cousins was before he tore his Achilles and then on his comeback trail tore his ACL. Let's not forget what the guy was doing. This guy was a consistent 20 and 10 guy, even better on some nights.
He was considered the best big man
in the league. He was considered the best big man in the league. Exactly. No. But what I was all that I'm saying is that he has the ability in him to turn back the clock every now and again.
And after rupturing your Achilles, that is why you still find yourself in the league, because you have your skills now. He doesn't have athleticism. He still has skills. He's able to hit a jump shot that most bigs aren't able to hit, and that's going to land you on a team, maybe not with a big role, but you're going to be employed.
And that, that brings me to, just me being a fan, because I loved Boogie Cousins when he was on the Kings, when he went to the Pelicans. Huge fan of him, liked him in Kentucky. I like the big man. Yeah, I liked him as a traditional big man. He's got some moves back to the basket, can hit you with the jab step. Really like those kind of players.
He had a bag.
Yeah, he had the whole bag. And to me, as a fan, at least from this current generation, one of the bigger, what could have been with this player because of the trajectory that he was on. I remember when he got Anthony Davis for that half season, they were giving teams problems, Anthony Davis and Cousins on the Pelicans before he tore his ACL. And he tore his ACL, not an ACL, his Achilles, on a triple-double game. That he had dropped a triple-double that game and tore his Achilles at the end of it. But DeMarcus Cousins, definitely one of the bigger what-ifs to me in the recent NBA history. I would have liked to see his career go on skates. But anyways, before I digress any further, the West, man. The West is a dogfight. Every night you got teams beating up on each other. The top of the West is as strong as ever, in my opinion, only getting stronger. We've seen some teams make some moves. The Nuggets, they acquired Aaron Gordon. Seems to have been a big move for them. We just talked about the Clippers getting Boogie Cousins and the Rondo to the Clippers. We see some teams turning it up, like the Mavs have been pretty hot. They're 7-3 in their last 10. So as we get closer, to the playoffs, I think the Western Conference is more the wide open conference. Do you guys have any teams that you want to point out, or do you have anybody favored to win the West right now?
There was, speaking of the West Coast Conference, I mean, we had the 1 and 2 seed match up last night in an overtime thriller. I'm not going to say that I stayed up and watched the whole thing, but I stayed up until halftime. The Suns, that Chris Paul move is very, very underrated. I think that Chris Paul is a perfect balance to Devin Booker, because I think that Devin Booker is a guy that's willing to take the criticism and learn from a guy like Chris Paul. He's not going to take it as personal as, say, maybe James Harden did with their breakup, as far as, a guy being
tough on you
and consistently tough on you, because he doesn't really cut corners. And Devin Booker's a guy that can go and get you all the buckets that you need, but he needs a guy to remind him, hey, take good shots. Don't go and chuck it. Don't just go chunk it up because you're hot and because you know that you can get a look, get the best look. And Chris Paul, to me, is the biggest. I mean, the Suns weren't a playoff team, bro. They're the number 2 seed in the West. That's and Chris Paul is the main acquisition. You know what I mean? He's made DeAndre Ayton better. He's made Cam Johnson better. They're really good defensively. They got Crowder. They added Crowder, another big move.
So, Miami shouldn't have let him go. No,
they have a lot of players defensively that they can throw at other teams. You know what I mean? So
am I hearing you take the Suns in the West? Am I hearing you take the Suns? Are they going to be your Heat?
I like the Suns. The Heat, the Suns. It's
only 1 game and a half back. I mean,
all right. I like it. I like the Suns too.
And I wasn't very big on them coming into the year. I know that you were, Roland. I had my question marks about Booker, but man, they really seem to be gelling. The chemistry is there.
Chemistry is there, and like Ben just said, man, can't say enough about Chris Paul. Every stop that he's made, I saw some graphic. The team's winning percentage drastically improves from one year to the next. You saw what happens with when he leaves the Thunder. They're back to being bottom dwellers again, and they just lost Chris Paul pretty much, and Danilo Gallinari is another one that they lost. But still, Chris Paul, certified Hall of Famer, doesn't need to win a championship.
First ballot.
But the run that he's on right now, he has his team as a legit contender. And as Justin just got done saying, as a Lakers fan, hey, AD and LeBron still are not on the court. Let's say they get back. There's no guarantee that Anthony Davis is 100% or that they regain what they had before. The Suns, barring injury, they look really good. But I said last week, I love the Denver Nuggets. I like the Nuggets. I like the brand of basketball that they're playing. I like Nikola Jokic as the number 2 big man in the league behind Joel Embiid, best in the West. Michael Porter Jr. is another guy that I was raving about last week. He's an automatic 25 points, gets you 10 rebounds. Not much in assists, but he's an automatic 25 points when he gets going. Jamal Murray's still there. And then Aaron Gordon, huge acquisition for this team. I like the Nuggets, and I'm going to go as far as to say that they represent the West if the Lakers don't get healthy. I like the Nuggets this year to take that jump. They saw what they can do last year, taking out the Clippers, even though it was kind of an isolated situation in the bubble. But still, they know that they can play with the big dogs, and I think they take the West if the Lakers don't come back healthy.
You've been on that Michael Porter Jr. train. I'll give you that. And he seems to finally be finding his own. He's 20 points tonight, damn near. So the Nuggets are definitely – Aaron Gordon was a guy I wanted for the Rockets. But he helps your team defensively. He helps your team offensively. He has experience in the league. It's a really good fit and a replacement for Jeremiah Grant, which was a big loss for the Nuggets that we talked about.
What about you, Just? Who you got coming out of the West? You sticking with the Lakers?
Well, to win the whole West or just to be in first place?
Come out of the West and
to
win.
represent the West.
I'm sticking with my Lakers then. I'm not going to fade on them.
Sticking to your guns.
Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say LeBron and AD aren't right.
Or one of the two. If one of the two is not right, I don't.
They were my dark horse last year. Sure enough, they went to the Western Conference Finals. Aaron Gordon's a big pickup. They just played the Clippers, 4 games ago, beat the Clippers again. The Clippers are ahead of them by maybe half a game. I think they'll overtake them in the seeding, either the 3rd seed. So I do like the Nuggets. I think they'll make noise. Like you said, Jokic is awesome to watch, and the addition of Aaron Gordon.
Yeah,
if the Lakers aren't healthy, give me the Nuggets.
Okay, I like that. And that's kind of all that I had for the West. One team we did not touch on was the Boston Celtics, and I really don't even want to talk about a current player.
Those are your boys, Roland.
They were my boys last year. I do think that they are broken. I think the team's broken. I think you got Jason Tatum and Brown, who are good pieces, but outside of that, you got to start looking at some shaking around.
And the coach is gone. The coach is gone.
Yeah,
he's going back to college.
Man, they got issues all around the board. They got issues with their current team. They got former players wilding out. I don't know if you guys saw what happened with Paul Pierce the other night.
The truth.
Man, but Paul Pierce, he had to have already been on the way out with ESPN. I think he was just saying F it, because there's no way that you go on and do that and expect to keep your job with Disney.
That ain't the first time Paul Pierce has done that on the weekend, but all the other times he knew not to go on live.
I think he was, he never recovered from that Jalen Rose rant and had enough of the network and was like, I got to get out somehow.
Yeah, and I saw that he's already gotten offers from Barstool. I saw...
Yep. There's a race for him at this point.
Yeah, I saw this
bidding war.
This webcam company offered him the opportunity to do webcams with girls behind him dancing and stuff, kind of like how he had in that IG video. Wow. Yeah, no, but just a lot to unload in the NBA this week. Like I said, it's a gift that keeps on giving. You don't even have to be a current player to give you news. You got Paul Pierce acting up for you.
Paul Pierce could be doing a lot more funner shit and still talking NBA and doing it for Disney. So, I mean, he seems like a real ass dude who likes to do what he likes to do. So he's made good decisions his whole career.
Yeah.
And when has Paul Pierce ever really slipped up? People make fun of him for coming out, leaving the game on the wheelchair, and that's about as bad as it gets. For him to do this, I mean, he was lit. He was lit, but he had to have known.
True.
He had to have known what he was doing.
And everybody else that he was recording didn't give a damn either. So like they knew what time it was.
Mm-hmm. They knew what time it was, and also I wanted to everybody saying like how Paul Pierce like gave it all up and was compromising the bag and all that. Paul Pierce is just fine. As we just said, he's going to be talking sports somewhere else, probably making more money than he was with ESPN.
And maybe not having to do it in a suit either.
Yeah, and he's a former player, guys. Let's not forget that. Like, he doesn't need the money. Like, it's not like, oh my God, Paul Pierce.
He had a long career. He has money.
At the bottom of his life right now. No, he's going to be just fine. I just wanted to bring it up because it was funny. And Paul Pierce is just hilarious in himself. He's just a funny guy. I enjoy Paul Pierce. I'll never, like Justin said, that whole Jalen Rose thing where Paul Pierce said that he had a better career than Dwayne Wade. That's great TV, right? And Paul Pierce had no doubt in his mind that he was better than Dwayne Wade.
No, but if you follow Paul Pierce on ESPN, you've seen that he thought he could take on a lot of people, though. Like in his mind, this dude is top 5 all time.
But that's the kind of guy that you need to have, though. I mean, that's what Paul Pierce as good as he was.
Paul Pierce is.
Let's not forget he was a dog.
Yeah, no, let's not shit on Paul Pierce because Paul Pierce is one of those guys that if you need him to book it at the end, I don't mind Paul Pierce taking that elbow jumper for the win, bro.
Pull up elbow jumper, baby.
It's going in more times than it isn't. Guarantee you that. So I mean, I wasn't the biggest Celtics fan, and I sided more with Ray Allen than Paul Pierce, but this move, I respected Paul Pierce. It's got to be way more fun talking sports with strippers behind you than in a suit and Kendrick Perkins dumbass next to you. Come on, like, bro.
Remember Gilbert Arenas had that podcast where they were just talk basketball and whatever they wanted, how they wanted. That's a lot better than how Paul Pierce had to go.
And listen, that can't only offer him $250,000. You got to think that's not enough. But like Roland Portnoy tweeted Paul Pierce and the phone ringing. And you know Portnoy is a Boston.
Yeah.
Some of his best years with the Celtics. Who is Barstool's personality? Who's Barstool's person? Don't have one. It seems like the obvious move. And Portnoy would let him have strippers on the damn show too, bro. I don't think that's a problem at Barstool. No, so it just seems like a match made in heaven. Paul Pierce to Barstool just seems like a match made in heaven to me.
Yeah, I agree. Just had to bring it up, though, because it is news. It is NBA. It just wouldn't have been right if I glazed over what happened with Paul Pierce. So had to bring that up, guys. Anything else you guys want to talk about on the NBA before we wrap it up? I
want to talk about this run that the Bulls are on, Roland. The Bulls are up 56-41. They're like on a 26-4 run.
Let's go, baby. I like that.
Dominating.
But yeah, guys, be on the lookout on the sharpmoney.com. We're giving out plays almost every day on there, Ben and I. So be on the lookout for those on the activity feed. Should be fun the rest of the summer as we get into more sports. But I do just want to say I have to backtrack. And sad to say it, I was a fan for once. I'm usually pretty skeptical. The Spurs, man, they've kind of fallen off a cliff recently. Find themselves on like a 4 to 5 game losing streak. Kind of on the outs of the playoffs right now. Not looking too good for my San Antonio Spurs. And I'm backtracking because I said that they would win a playoff series this year. I don't know if they make the playoffs now. So,
they can battle with the Grizzlies, though. It seems like the Warriors have also fallen off of that 9-8
They're going to
seed.
tank at this point also, the Warriors.
Yeah, so I think that the Spurs still have a chance at that playing game, though, Roland. Yeah. And if they're playing Memphis, I mean, Memphis has gotten the better end of the Spurs, if I'm remembering correctly. But that's a winnable series.
Yeah, I agree. And, I'm glad you brought up the Warriors because we need to have a conversation about the Golden State Warriors.
They're in a tough spot, man.
I'm talking about we need to have a real conversation about the Warriors. And
about one player being able to carry a team or not. And the list of excuses, it's about running out. But we're going to save that for a later date.
Yeah, we'll save that for a later date because we got some UFC to get into right now.
For sure. All right, man. Well, UFC's back, and they're back in a big way. They're making their ABC debut. I believe it's their ABC debut. UFC.
Was it Max Holloway the first one? Yes.
You're right. Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar was the first one, and it does say UFC on ABC 2 on the fucking page here. Anyways, Marvin Vettori, we know. I think that we're fans of Marvin Vettori on this podcast. I like the way he carries himself. I like his hot temper. A guy that obviously has had people pull out of fights against him. He's had trouble finding opponents, to say the least. Had a very tough fight with Israel Adesanya early in his career, and still hanging on to that. Here, he was supposed to fight a big name, Darren Till, a name that maybe a win over Darren Till gets you that title shot.
Yeah.
Beat Darren Till impressively. Darren Till goes down with a broken collarbone last week, pulls out of the fight, and guess who the UFC calls?
Mr. Big Mouth.
Oh, Big Mouth, the trailblazer, Kevin Holland, man. I know we talked about how underwhelming and how bad his last performance was with the way that he came out against Derek Brunson, a guy who we considered a gatekeeper. But Kevin Holland gets the call, steps up, and he's back against Marvin Vettori. Just before we get into the card, I mean, I know that we were all pretty excited for Till versus Vettori, right? How do you all feel about the replacement?
Justin, you go.
I like this replacement because we saw Kevin Holland last against Derek Brunson, as you mentioned, and that was a wrestling clinic by Derek Brunson. Vettori is a guy who's going to stand up in front of him, and it's stand and bang time, and that's where Holland shines. So we're going to get two guys who like to throw. I think this is a great matchup to watch.
Yeah, I like the replacement. Kevin Holland's an exciting fighter. You're going to get theatrics with him also. And you already have theatrics with Vettori, as Ben said. He's a pretty fiery guy. He doesn't hold back his words. He lets you know what he's thinking. But I don't think it's a good matchup for Holland. I don't know what the line is at right now. I think
it's
wrong.
Marvin Vettori minus 335. So
yeah, I don't think this is a good matchup for Holland. I said last week, I know they're in the same weight class, but Vettori is the bigger guy here, and that's kind of worries me. I know Justin said that Vettori likes to stand and bang, which he does. He's just a guy that's standing there, likes to throw, like Darren Till said in his little Instagram post. He's just kind of like a little punching bag. But if Vettori's smart, he's going to get it down to the ground, and I don't think Holland's going to offer much resistance in way of that. So that's why I say it's a bad look for Holland right now.
You brought up a good point. This weight difference, because coming off the last interview we saw with Kevin Holland, he said he was going to make his way back to welter. Now he took another middleweight fight.
Yeah, he also said that he was going to go and practice some wrestling over in San Jose with the AKA team. But, I mean, I guess this was just a quick chance to get that bad taste out of your mouth.
Yeah.
For a guy like Kevin Holland, and you're fighting a guy that's at the top of the division. So a win over Marvin Vettori, and I'm not saying that Kevin Holland gets a title shot with a win, but he's right back in the picture of win one more good fight, and you could be there. Very surprised that the UFC did call him, though, because his last main event and his first main event was very underwhelming.
Yeah.
I know that we alluded to him as an exciting fighter, but his last fight was everything but exciting. Now, not necessarily his fault because he was being taken down, but he accepted position. He kind of was just playing around. So do you all see Vettori taking him to the ground at all?
I think that's what's going to happen. I think Vettori takes him to the ground because I think Holland will beat him if they stay standing. That's just the way that I see it going.
Justin, I know you said you expect it to take place standing up.
I think it's going to be standing. I know if Vettori has that advantage of having the blueprint and seeing what Brunson did, and he's a much bigger guy than Holland is. So Roland's not wrong in thinking that, easy win. Let's get the takedowns and let's just, body him that way. I just think, Vettori, from what I've seen in his past, the guy likes to punch.
And he's going to have too much rage in there?
I think so.
The other thing,
if he's smart, Roland, he does your game plan, walks out pretty much unscathed. We saw Holland has no skills when he's on his back.
Easiest path to victory is definitely the takedown, but for Vettori, a guy who's trying to get a title shot, is that the route you want to take? Do you want to lay and prey on a guy, just get the dub, and then you're no better than Derek Brunson? Why shouldn't Derek Brunson?
But here's the thing, though. Does Kevin Holland, a win over him, move you in the rankings any?
That's what I was going to say. Does the win for Holland do the same thing? I mean, does a win against Holland for Vettori do the same thing that it did for Brunson? Because Brunson, it took him up he's already considered a top contender now with that victory over Holland.
I think Vettori's, and that's why he was fighting Darren Till, because they're both top contenders. It just beat this guy better than Brunson did, because Brunson didn't look very good doing it. Yeah, he beat him, but he laid and prayed on him. Let's see Vettori get this guy out of there.
Okay.
Is what I think. If Vettori gets this guy out of there, gets on the mic and talks some slick shit to Adesanya, yo, I need that fight back. Those judges were on some bullshit that night. And he knocked him out. That's gonna get Dana White excited.
That would help, because here's the thing: Adesanya's been through a lot of that division already.
Yep.
You need a new name and a new opponent, a new face.
You still got to run Whitaker back. You still got to run Whitaker back if he gets rid of Gastelum.
And they fight next week.
100% Roland.
And they fight next week as well. So if Whitaker does win that fight, then yeah, maybe Whitaker gets that fight. But do you give Gastelum the rematch against Adesanya if he beats Whitaker? Or if Vettori dismantles Kevin Holland, do you give Vettori the title shot? Because there's already storyline there. They've already fought once. It was a split decision.
And I think that's another
more storyline.
I think that's a safe fight for Adesanya too, though. I know I just got done saying that Vettori is a bigger guy, can offer different problems, but I think Adesanya will take care of Vettori personally.
I don't know if it's easier fight than who, though. Like, it's not an easier
Whitaker.
Than Whitaker, yeah. Not an easier fight than Brunson.
No, easier fight than Whitaker.
Only way Gastelum gets a rematch is if he just starches Whitaker in the first round. Because then you got the hype of, he just starched a guy who has been tearing everybody else up in the division.
Which, one thing you can
only way you can sell that fight.
It's like he doesn't. Yeah, he fights the who's who. So yeah, he has gone through a murderer's row.
So in this fight, I see Vettori. I see him mixing it up. Not necessarily just keeping it standing. I think that he hurts Holland. Vettori's constant pressure. You all talked about the size that he has on Holland. And he's a bully in there, man. He's a bully. He's got his eye on the prize, and he's not a guy that backs down. We talked about his temper, his aggression. It never really seems to get him in trouble in the ring. He just seems to, have rages outside, when guys pull out of fights or whatever it may be. But I see this as a good opportunity for him. I think that he would have beat Till had he been matched up against Till. And do I think this is an easier fight? Not necessarily, because I think that Holland has more weapons than Till's left hand, because that's really all I think is Till's only weapon. But the fact that it's on short notice, he is going to be a lot bigger than Holland. If it stays standing for the 5 rounds, I do think that Holland is live in this. I really do. But I expect Vettori to take care of business.
I agree. If he gets to that 4th, 5th round, then Holland has a chance here.
Agreed.
Roland?
I'm going Vettori here, but the longer the fight lasts, I think the better the chance that Holland has. But I think Vettori's going to stick to the game plan, go out and get his W, and talk on the mic and try and get Adesanya's attention. I think that's what's going to happen Saturday night.
Yeah, that'd be the best thing for the promotion. Honestly, it would be.
Yeah.
The co-main event, pretty good co-main event in the featherweight division. Arnold Almighty Allen, plus 115 underdog against Sadiq. So we got Almighty and Super. Sadiq Super Youssef and Arnold Almighty. Almighty or Super? Which one is better, pal? That's going to be the question here. Super. Youssef is a minus 139 dog. Arnold Allen comes in with a 16-1 record. Sadiq Youssef with an 11-1 record. I know that Arnold Allen has been a prospect, a big prospect. He trains out of TriStar, a gym that we know Rory McDonald and GSP most notably made famous. This is a pretty good fight, guys. Arnold Allen is on a huge winning streak. He hasn't lost a fight in the UFC. The competition hasn't been that stiff, but it's a winning streak nonetheless. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fight winning streak in the UFC for Arnold Allen. So he's been getting it done. Most of the time it goes to decision. Sadiq Youssef is a guy who made it onto the UFC through the Dana White Contender Series. Very exciting stand-up fighter. I think that it's a toss-up fight the way that the odds are set. I mean, I think
I don't think so because when I'm looking at Arnold Allen's fights, the guys that he's on this streak with are losing records recently. So he's beating guys who are on a 2-3 loss streak as it is.
That's fair, but I mean, and so when you look at Sadiq Yusuf's record, and he is also undefeated in the UFC, 4-0, not 8-0. But I mean, Suman, Mkhitaryan, Shaman Moraes, Gabriel Benitez, Andre
Touchy-feely's on there too.
Yeah, Touchy-feely is a good win, and it was a unanimous win. So he definitely has fought the tougher schedule, I guess you would say, even in a shorter amount of fights. And I mean, he was on the McGregor Cerrone card, he was on the Cormier Miocic card. So Sadiq Youssef has been on the big stage. This is a co-main event. I do tend to side with Sadiq Youssef. I like his stand-up. I like him to stop the takedowns. I like the athleticism advantage that he has in this fight. So I do slight with Sadiq Youssef as a short favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I'm not gonna go out on a limb here and take the underdog. I like Sadiq Youssef. I've seen him fight a couple times. I like the skills standing up. He has a slight reach advantage over Arnold Allen, so he's gonna have the advantage in that regard. So he can stay outside if he wants to. And you know, if he has good takedown defense, I don't think they're gonna go to the ground by any means. But I like Youssef. He's an accurate striker. He knows what he's doing in that regard, and it's a good battle of the prospects, right? Whoever wins this fight more than likely catapults themselves to maybe a top 10 matchup or something like that, or a top 15 matchup. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Youssef here to get the finish and put the division on notice. I like it.
Yeah, give me super, but in decision.
Okay.
Decision. Okay. All right. And up, Sam Alvey, coming in with a 33-14-1 record. He's fighting against a guy who I like. I like his personality. I like the way that he got into the UFC off Dana White Contender Series. I'm talking about Julian, the Cuban Missile Marquez. I wish that Marquez had been more active in his career, but this is a pretty good fight against a vet who seems to be on his way down. Sam Alvey hasn't gotten that patented left-hand KO that seems to be his only way to victory, you know, when he's not fighting a Nogueira. He even lost to a Nogueira brother, right, last year, didn't he?
Yeah,
like
he lost to Ryan Spann, he lost to Jimmy Crute.
Yeah, he's been on a losing streak. I mean, Jimmy Crute and Ryan Spann are legit contenders, but you should not be losing a fight to a Nogueira brother in 2020 or 2019. Julian Marquez has won one fight in 2021. He was on that Usman and Burns card against Maki. Wasn't it Coconut Bombs Pitolo, right? Do I have that nickname right?
Mm-hmm.
He ended up beating him with an anaconda choke that night. So how do you see this fight going, guys? Is this Sam Alvey's last fight in the UFC? We've seen the UFC do away with some of these vets who have been on losing streaks, not getting it done. Is this Smiling Sam Alvey's last fight?
I don't think so, because he's not the kind of vet that's getting paid the way the other vets who were straddling that win-loss record got paid.
Okay.
He's probably not over 200K a card at a fight right now. He's probably under that.
Yeah, you
they can afford a guy like that to, you know, sort of gatekeep the top 20 in a way. You know, get you into those, get your name noticed. You know. But what he's recognizable. People know Smiling Sam.
Is he doing something for the brand? That's going to be the next question. Like, is he doing something for the UFC to keep him around on the roster when they could be paying a guy 15 and 15 instead of maybe Sam Alvey's 70 and 70 or 60 and 60?
Yeah. I think they're in a place right now because they just sold the other portion of the UFC. I think they can afford him.
Yeah, I like Sam Alvey.
He's on a 4-game losing streak, and his last fight was a draw.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna. Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't think he's gonna win this fight. I don't think it's his last fight. I think he's a company guy. I think they'll give him an opportunity to go out the right way. I do like the Cuban Missile. I know he's 30 years old, but doesn't have too much octagon time, so he's gonna be the fresher fighter. The only thing I will say to look out for is, from what I've been reading on the Cuban Missile, is he is a natural middleweight. So he is a smaller fighter in there with Alvi. So Alvi does have a size advantage over this man. So if he wants any chance of winning, take that fight to the ground. But I'm going to go with the Cuban Missile to get the finish here. I like him. I just think Sam Alvey is past his prime, didn't really have too great of a prime to begin with, and he's just a shell of his former self. So give me the younger, fresher fighter.
The one thing I
It
will
also
say
might be
about
the last
Marquez
card in
is that-
Vegas for a little bit too.
Yeah, I will say about Marquez is he does get hit often. Like he more of brawls, and with a guy like Alvi, if there's one thing that he does have, is he has power in that hand where he can maybe drop you. So, as a 2-1 favorite, I think it is a little steep for Marquez, but he should be the favorite in this fight.
Ben,
Yo,
with Marquez also, all his wins have come from a finish, either
Right.
TKO or submission.
either he
Only
gets
losses
finished,
have been
Yeah.
by decision. So he
Okay.
either finishes or gets a decision. I think he can finish Sam.
Yeah, and if he doesn't finish Sam Alvey by decision's got to have some decent odds if that's the only way that Marquez tends to lose. You know what I mean? Marquez by finish or Sam Alvey by decision seems like the way to go in that fight. I think that you get good plus numbers on both of those. But moving on. Up next, we got the champ's wife, the baddest woman on the planet's wife. She even changed her damn name to Nunez. We got Nina Nunez and Square over here making her debut and shit. I think that she just thinks with Nunez as her last name, she ain't finna lose. Like girls
Absorbs
are just
that power. That
Yeah,
punching
hey.
power automatically.
Hey Justin, but she's fighting your girl, Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Dern back in the octagon. I think that this is a pretty good fight. I mean, I think that if it stays standing, Nunez wins easily. If it goes to the ground, Dern wins easily. I think that it's pretty simple. I'm not going to get too into it, but I'll ask you all before I make my prediction. What way do you think the fight goes?
I'm going with Mackenzie Dern. I think she's been in the ring or the octagon more recently than Nunez. And I like her ability on the ground to get the finish. That's where I'm going. I'm going Mackenzie Dern as a short dog here.
Plus 115. Nina Nunez minus 140. Justin, on the notes, you put answer off, and that's very disrespectful, cuz. All right, it's Nina Nunez. It's Nina Nunez.
That's what she's formerly known as. I had to go with that. But
No,
here's the
you
other
don't.
thing, Ben. This is her first fight back.
As a mom,
She had the baby. First fight as a mom.
does she have mom quit in her?
And I was going to ask you because I don't remember, have you moms had a good record in the UFC after having given birth?
Juliana Pena, maybe. I think she won her last fight after being a mom, but for the most part, there's a thing called mom quit, which once chicks we saw with Misha Tate. After Misha Tate became a mom, it was kind of like her way out. It's tough for these ladies to have pregnancies, be out for 9 months, over a year, then we're getting pretty into it. I was gonna say lose all that baby fat. Like, what the fuck am I talking about, fam? But you know what I mean? Like, get back into shape post pregnancy and all that shit. Like,
You're not training when you're pregnant, so that's
it's a lot to ask for. But Mackenzie Dern's a mom too,
Yeah, she is.
That's true.
Right?
She won on her.
right? How did she come back after being a mom? Did she
won.
get a dub?
I think she won.
She won.
She won. So this is a fucking battle of the moms. Maybe their kids will meet up 20 years from now on the octagon and shit. But Justin, are you going with Dern as well? Your girl? I know you.
Yeah, Dern had an active 2020. She had 3 fights: May, September, and December. All 2 subs and 1 win by decision. That last fight was for another Brazilian, Virna, and that was a close fight. And it stayed standing for the most part. And Dern still was able to get the win. I'm going to go with Dern on this one with the upset. Small dog.
All right. And I'm going to take the other side here. I'm going to take Nina Nunez. Angela Hill under her belt. She's got Randa Marcos, Claudia Gadelia. She lost the decision to Tatiana Suarez. Just based on the
Tatiana Suarez is a future champ, though. So
I don't know about future champ, but she's
100% future champ.
Contender. Yeah, she's a challenger. She's a title challenger.
Oh, no, she's a champ. I'm willing to die on that.
I don't know
hill,
who the fuck she's gonna beat for a belt, but Shevchenko's not losing a belt, and Nunez ain't.
No,
losing
she's
a
in
belt.
the weight class behind that.
Okay, so that makes it even crazier.
No, bro, she's a future champ, bro. She would have went to the Olympics had it not been for the cancer, bro. That girl can wrestle with anybody. She's a future champ. So,
There's been a lot of people that have gone to the Olympics and aren't champs though, or have lost.
That
You know
girl's
what
a
I mean?
future champ, bro.
The point is, Nina Nunez has been in there with the tougher competition. For that reason, I'm going to take her in this fight with what I would say is a young fighter in Mackenzie Dern. Time in the UFC and her second fight as a mom, Nina Nunez's first fight. It'll be interesting. I might walk the dogs during that fight, I'll tell you.
Nah, I wouldn't want the dog during that fight.
I know y'all have a thing for Mackenzie Dern, and I just don't. So, I mean, I'm going to walk the dogs. Up next, this the friend of the podcast for damn sure. Mike Platinum Perry, making a comeback in what seems
Florida
like
boy.
a very winnable fight. In what seems like a fight that Mike Perry needs. We got Mike Perry coming in against Daniel. I think that Mike Perry is the favorite, correct?
No.
He's
Mike
a short
Perry's
dog.
the dog. Okay, here we go. Lost my pages here. Mike Perry's coming in at plus 138 against Daniel, and I think that he could have gotten more creative with this fucking nickname. So you're gonna call yourself D-Rod?
Yeah.
Come
it's a
on,
little
bro.
weird.
Give him a
It's a little
creative.
weak.
Yeah. Compared to Platinum, based on the nickname. But this seems to be a slugfest. I don't think that this is a fight that is going to take very long. I think that the guys are going to get in the pocket. They're going to trade, and we're going to find out who's tough on Saturday. And just a little side note, the card does start at noon on Saturday. So it's not going to be on Saturday at night. We'll be starting early. Guys, what do y'all think about this barn burner we got here? I think this starts off the main card as well.
It's going to be an exciting fight. Mike Perry, for as crazy as he is and with all the outside of the octagon antics that he's had, he's technically a company man for the UFC, meaning Dana White likes him. Dana White likes Mike Perry. Even though he's lost more than he's won recently, Dana White said that he enjoys watching him fight. Every time that he goes out there and gets in the octagon, he always performs, whether it's a win or a loss. People like watching him fight. So that's why he's still around in the UFC. And I'm going to show him some love. I'm taking Mike Perry here. I think they're going to stand and bang, and I think Mike Perry's going to come away with the W. I haven't seen too much of him on social media recently. I think he's been locked in a little bit more than he has been recently down there training in South Florida. So he just had a kid, I want to say. So sticking. I'm back in the dad. I'm back in Mike Perry, baby. Let's go Platinum one more time.
I'm with you, Roland. I have no problem picking Platinum on this one, and I want him to win. And like he said, he is a company man, even though he's gone through all these things outside, even maybe some racial slurs that had happened.
Yeah, and he survived some of that. Yeah,
100%. When he comes to the octagon, you know what kind of fight Mike Perry is going to bring you. He's wanting to stand and bang. None of this ground stuff. The guy is a show every time. He's a star, and you know what? He's not getting paid ridiculous either to be one. So Dana's fine having him even with these losses. I don't think he's at risk to get cut by any means, even if he lost here.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to get cut, and he's got losses to pretty decent fighters. Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal. He's coming off a loss to Tim Means, which that's not a very good loss. He had that loss.
Tony was another loss. Santiago Ponzinibbio when he was on a streak.
Right, but I mean, he has wins over Paul Felder, Alex Cowboy Oliveira, Mickey Gall, which doesn't mean much, but
he beat Mickey Gall with his girlfriend training him.
That's fact. But usually when guys become dads, they get a little run to them. They start fighting motivated. I mean, we saw Cowboy do it when he had his kid. We saw him get back to fighting, top 5 fighters and get a fight with Conor McGregor. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to back Mike Perry in this fight. I think that he's going to come in motivated. I know that he's back with coaches. It won't be his girl in his corner for this fight. I think
there until either.
Yeah, I think he's going to be motivated, and I expect him to land something on Rodriguez. Now, listen, Rodriguez ain't no punk either.
He's a good submission artist.
Yeah. he's a beast. 13-2 record, and he has wins over Tim Means, who Mike Perry just lost to. His last fight, he did lose to Nicholas Dalby, a unanimous decision. But for the most part, this guy's in exciting fights also. TKO and submissions all over his record. I think that this is the favorite for fight of the night as far as the card goes. Maybe the main event can get there too, but this is going to be a banger. This ain't a fight you want to miss, and hopefully Mike Perry gets the win here. Right? So that wraps up pretty much the fights that we're going to cover for this card. I did want to talk about some bookings and some fights that did happen.
Just real quick, I just want to. Are we doing another UFC competition? Are they? Are we having fans fill stuff out?
We haven't. Yeah, we haven't started it yet. We can talk about it, and if we want to, we can do it for that pay-per-view that's coming up in Florida.
Let's start there.
We can start there with the 3 title fights if we want to do it again. So if you all do want to participate in that again, maybe drop a comment.
If you're starting big events like that,
either on Facebook or YouTube, if y'all are down to get back with that MMA thing. But yeah, good question, Roland. Did any of y'all catch the Bellator fights that came back this past Friday? I know they had the champ, Patricio Pitbull, defending his belt against Sanchez. And what's crazy is it was a start to the tournament, and the champ doesn't get any buys. He's not the last boss that you face once you pass all the levels. The champ fights every round of the tournament, and his belt is up for grabs every round of the tournament, which is pretty badass and might bring not more viewers, but might bring viewers to Bellator because they're doing things differently than the UFC. We would never
also back on Showtime.
And they're on Showtime, correct, which might get less viewers because people don't want to be paying for Showtime. Unless it's for Your Honor or Shameless, not necessarily for Bellator. But anyways, what's that, Ro?
That's a nice little show call out. You called out Shameless. It's a good show.
Love that show.
That's a Showtime staple.
Season ending on Sunday, guys, if you're on it.
Yep.
Yeah. But Bellator is back, and I do love the tournament, man. I like the tournament. I believe that's now at the finals, right? It's going to be Patricio Pitbull against AJ McKee, which is AJ McKee is a fighter that Bellator has been grooming.
Yeah.
A guy that they've worked up slowly, kind of the Aaron Pico plan that was supposed to be with Aaron Pico, but this guy is an athlete. I think, I don't want to say that he's going to be Pitbull's toughest test, but he's going to be a hard puzzle to figure out because I think that he's going to have the reach advantage, the height advantage, the athleticism advantage. But, Pitbull's a fighter, bro. Pitbull's a dog, hence the nickname Pitbull. Champ at 2 different divisions, a guy that I think could make the jump to the UFC and challenge Volkanovski right away. Challenge the champions right away.
Challenge the lightweight too. Remember, he's double champ over there.
That's what I said. He has 2 belts. So, did you all catch that fight by any chance?
Yeah,
I didn't.
We're texting through. Remember?
Right.
I just have to ask: is Patricio? He has a victory over Michael Chandler, right?
Yes,
correct.
His last loss was Benson Henderson a while back, though.
This guy's legit.
He beat Chandler for the belt.
And it feels from the fights that I've seen with Patricio, it looks like all he has to do is just touch you a little bit, and guys are going down. He's got legit strength in his hands.
Emmanuel Sanchez may not be a household name, but he's a guy that has made his way through the ranks in Bellator. Obviously was the semifinals of that tournament. So
a rematch too.
Right. Emmanuel Sanchez did win some fights to get to that fight, and he dismantled him, bro. First round. You know what I mean? They brought McKee in there for the face-off right after the fight, and Pitbull wasn't even sweating yet. So I'm looking forward to that. They have another card coming up tomorrow where Bader, who lost his heavyweight championship, he was also a double champ for Bellator, lost his heavyweight belt, but the tournament for the light heavyweight title starting. That's where we're going to see Yoel Romero. That's where we're going to see Anthony Rumble Johnson, right, Justin?
That's going to be exciting.
So July for those fights, but this weekend starts the light heavyweight, and next weekend another light heavyweight fight. Yeah.
Correct. So the 205 tournament starts already with the champ main eventing tomorrow. I'm not a big fan of the card tomorrow. It's not as good as last week's was, but Ryan Bader is headlining it, and UFC ain't on until Saturday, so Bellator did do a good job going on Friday nights when There's not much, to be honest. College basketball's
I'll still
over.
tune in since there's nothing going on that night.
Exactly. That's my point. College basketball's over, and even if it was college basketball, it's when the Ivy League schools playing shit. The MAC. So Bellator has seemed to figure something out. You know, teaming up with Showtime. Showtime got rid of boxing, picked up Bellator, staying in the combat fighting, but ditching. Right? I don't think that they have boxing anymore, or is that HBO?
You're talking about
Showtime has
Showtime?
boxing.
Yeah, Showtime still has boxing. And,
Wait.
Then it's HBO that no longer has boxing.
Yeah, you might be on the HBO now.
yeah, I know Showtime still does though.
Okay, my bad. But they picked up Bellator, so Showtime is definitely stepping their game up.
It's a legit promotion.
Yeah,
Right.
It's HBO. They got out of the boxing business.
Okay, there you go. So that because Mayweather used to fight for HBO, right?
Yeah,
Showtime.
he's a Showtime guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all fucked up right
Yeah.
now about that. All right. Anyways, look out for Bellator if you have Showtime.
The guys at the top are all legit. They can cross over, I think.
And
Yes.
yesterday on TNT, One FC made their debut. They had Eddie Alvarez on the card. They had Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson on the card.
TNT's a good look for that promotion.
Yeah, they made their debut on TNT. I know they came out after the wrestling, right, Justin? Maybe?
Yeah, it was at 9 o'clock. They premiered. They had 1 hour. There was a pre-card available on Bleacher Report and another stream that they teamed up with. But the main card, they're going to be coming out on Wednesdays now, I think, from here on out, trying to break into that American market.
And on TNT, so on Wednesday nights, you know, and not late at night before 1FC, you'd have to stay up through the wee hours of the night to watch their fights. Now they're coming in 9 p.m. And listen, there might be legit comp over there because Mighty Mouse had never been finished before. And last night he got finished for the first time in his
talk about
career.
it. How did it happen?
It happened with a knee to a grounded opponent, which is legal in 1FC and which is legal in most Asian promotions.
Well,
but not in
most promotions outside North America.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Not in America.
I get the safety protocol of having it kind of illegal in the UFC, but I also see from like a true fighter standpoint, like you have to protect yourselves at every single point of the fight, right? Even when you're grounded. So I don't know.
That's what makes it mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And back in Pride rules, you could soccer kick to the head, Roland. Like now in the UFC, you can soccer kick, but it has to be to the ribs. Most notably, Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree on either Ultimate Fighter or on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender. I forget where it was, but he soccer kicked the dude in the ribs, made the guy verbally tap. So you can soccer kick to the body. Yeah, so you can soccer kick to the body, but not head. Over there in Asia, they allow strikes, knees to grounded opponents. What Peter Yan did to Aljamain Sterling would have been perfectly legal in 1FC, and it would have stopped the fight, which is what we saw last night.
So are you guys
and the irony in yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Hey, not everybody has to have the same rules, man. Everybody has to have their own flavor. You know what I mean? It's a little more savage.
Want some sort of unified rules?
Not necessarily, because I mean, it's not like their fighters are fighting these fighters. It's not like UFC is fighting one fighters and they're fighting under the same rules.
Yeah, it's not like when the NBA has to play in the Olympics and learn the FIBA rules.
Correct. Everybody fights under the rules for their promotions, and because that's where you fight. It's just like the UFC has the octagon and other promotions have a circular ring or a squared ring or a ring with ropes, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? When you go and sign up for those promotions, that's just what you sign up for. Yeah. But do you all like it? What do you think? Is it obviously it's more savage?
I think it's more savage. I think it's kind of I don't. Let me just put it this way: it's more savage, but I don't think it deteriorates the quality of the product or anything like that by having that rule in there or allowing it. I think it's like Ben said, it's a different flavor. And also, as a mixed martial artist, you have to protect yourself at all times, wherever you're at in the octagon.
Listen, with that rule set, we see Mighty Mouse getting finished for the first time ever by a guy that nobody that listens to this fucking show knows the name of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who was untouchable in the UFC. And in 1FC, in his second or third fight, he already got finished. You know? So
we saw Eddie Alvarez get finished in his fight before this.
And then going to Eddie Alvarez.
900 favorite.
And he did get finished. And then going to Eddie Alvarez, now he has a disqualification. Did you all see?
I saw it.
Did you all see the sequence that led to the disqualification? And did you agree with it?
By the rules. And he technically hit him in the back. It's close, but if you're going by the letter of the law there, you got to disqualify him.
I agree. I'm on that side of the boat also. I thought he clearly hit him in the back of the head. Yeah. And on Twitter, they give you the slow motion shit. And you could see he got him a couple of times. Some people may say he's behind the ear, but behind the ear is the back of the head, technically. So
he still hit him hard.
I didn't like the whole stoppage. The reason why I didn't like it is because the ref never stepped in and warned him to say, hey, no shots to the back of the head. So he's right to keep punching because he's not being warned.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. And I feel bad. I mean, I don't know if you saw Eddie afterwards. He was just concerned for the kid's health more than anything. It was just a bad situation. I think last night was tough for the entering of this market.
And Eddie Alvarez and Demetrius Johnson, we're talking about the two biggest signings that ONE FC made, two former UFC champions that they got to go over their promotion, and on the same night, they both take L's. That can't be good for the brand. That can't be good for the brand. And we'll just wrap it up with the UFC unveiling the new kits. They finally did away with the Reebok deal. They signed with Venom. Venom was a company that was sponsoring fighters back when you could have sponsors on your trunks and your shirts and your banners, all that shit. I like the look. I think it has some like Nike, like the what are those shoes called? The cleats called? Those cleats that the Nike
the Vapors.
Vapors. They have like a vapor look to the uniform. They have a real slick, dry fit, clean look to it. So I personally liked it a lot. What did y'all think?
I think it looks a lot cleaner. I agree, and it adds a different little mix too. It is cleaner, but it has a little bit more flavor to it than the Reebok shorts had.
Yep.
Yeah, more lines on the designs. The only thing that I don't know what's going to happen is Reebok had a shoe deal as well with UFC. I know Venom doesn't have anything but boxing shoes. Are they going to come out and start making shoes for the fighters, or will they be able to, from here on out, wear their own shoes to the ring, the ones they feel like wearing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe just some UFC slides or some shit.
Yeah, maybe
I'm not sure.
That was provided by Reebok previously too, so
right.
See how this goes.
And we'll close it out with this because we talked about it briefly though. Ngannou's next title defense. It seems like they're going the route of Derek Lewis. It seems like
they're not.
They're not. Well, wait. They started working on Derek Lewis. Francis Ngannou said he needs till August. He doesn't want to turn around and fight so soon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right? That doesn't mean that in August they're going to be able to pay John Jones what he wants. We know that Derek Jones is going to take Derek Lewis is going to take the fight for
whatever they offer.
A couple mil, right? Yeah. When John Jones wants 10 mil. So do you all see the fight? Do you all see the John Jones money situation getting resolved, or is the Lewis fight going to happen? They were aiming for the Conor card in July. The Conor Poirier seems to have been set in stone. Both fighters already tweeted. I'll see y'all July 10th. They were trying to get this fight on there. What do y'all see next?
I see the Derek Lewis fight happening, but I do still see John Jones getting in there with Ngannou. I think they're going to have the Ngannou and Derek Lewis fight, and they're going to see the potential with the John Jones fight, and they're going to get it done. Because like we were talking about recently, he didn't put on all this weight not to have the fight. He's in the fight.
And also, if he takes out Derek Lewis, then what's next? They have nothing.
Exactly. You got to throw in John Jones.
So maybe John Jones should just let it play out, let Derek Lewis get in there, and if Derek Lewis loses, the UFC has no. Who else is gonna fight him, bro?
Yeah, just he needs to let it play out. It sucks because he's gonna be on the shelf for a long time, but he needs to let it play out.
Justin?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the Jones fight, and here's why. If it was gonna be Lewis, Ngannou would have just agreed to the deal and set it up. The reason why he said, I need till August is because he's letting John get ready, and it's best for his bag. Because honestly, he didn't get hurt against Stipe. He's ready to go tomorrow.
But he's always said he wants to go back to his homeland in Africa and go celebrate with the belt. And he finally did win the belt. Why does he want to win the belt?
You take a 3-week vacation, go to Africa, and come back, my guy. I mean,
No, you need
not a big deal.
And it's also smarter for Ngannou to take the Lewis fight because
I think it's smarter to take the Jones fight. You secure a nice bag taking that fight.
You secure being the champion longer if you fight Lewis.
Well, if being the champion longer is what you want, then yes, that's smarter.
And
If
we've
you want
known
the
Ngannou to
bag,
be a
it's Jones.
we've known Ngannou to be a guy that wants to be active. Yeah, he might want the bag.
Ngannou's gonna get the bag no matter what.
Right.
Back figure with Jones. We all know that.
For sure, but it's not like Ngannou's
Yes,
fighting.
but that relies on Jones. That relies on Jones saying yes as well. You already know Lewis is going to say yes. If Jones doesn't
Jones
say yes,
putting on
then
memes
Ngannou's
saying
not
yes,
gonna
pretty much is just trying to get the money right.
Yeah, he's right. So he's not saying yes. He's saying yes when the money's right. The problem with the UFC has always been getting the money right.
And you want a big live gate.
But they already kicked the tires a little bit on this fight with Lewis. I mean, it was supposed to be already going, and they said no.
They didn't.
They
They
put
didn't
a little
kick the
stop to
tires.
it.
It's timing.
Ngannou just
right?
said, "I need more time." That's it. That's all.
That's why. But I'm saying if he was ready and it's Lewis, he doesn't need time. He's just asking for more time to let Jones get ready and get the deal. He
I
wants
think
that
that's an
back.
interesting
It's
angle.
smart.
I think that's an interesting angle, but I think right now,
What champ have we seen win the belt and then turn around and fight a month later or 2 months later?
exactly, he needs some milk.
What champ has won the belt for it? We've seen everybody win the belt and sit for 6 months and do their tour around. He was on Hot Boxing last week with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
He had Tyson holding the belt. He's gonna make his tour with the belt, bro.
No, and there's no problem making the tour of the belt. I'm just saying it's not going to be Lewis next.
That's
All
what
right.
he
I
said
think
no
it's
to
Jones.
Lewis.
There's only 2 fighters it's going to be, right?
Right.
So it's a toss-up. But
But you
I
got
just
one
still-
fighter. You got
I'm
one
going to still
fighter,
hold on to Jones. I think it's Jones.
But you got one fighter who's going to say yes to whatever the UFC offers him to fight Ngannou, and you
Yeah, I
got one
agree.
fighter who's telling Dana up the price. And how
Yeah.
stubborn is Dana? How
And I'm
stubborn?
not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that you're not having a good possibility of happening. I just personally think it's going to be Jones.
And that's fair. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it.
Because we talk about sports here, Roland. That's what we're going to talk about.
Exactly. And until they get that booked, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to argue.
Yeah. And now we're done talking about sports.
That's it. I mean, do you guys have anything else you want to?
That wraps up the pod.
After episode 39,
I want to
Masters
apologize.
Weekend.
I do have something to say. I want to apologize for saying the word penetrate so much earlier when we were talking about
I got a
boxing.
little awkward. I'm not going to lie. So
It did. I shouldn't have said it that many
let's
times.
just not do that again.
I think we
just
had like a limit on what we can say penetrate, and I think you cut it right under that limit though. So
Yo,
we'll be
You just
okay.
added to it. You guys are adding it to it right now. Let's just.
I
not.
just thought that was better than rape. Is all I
Yeah.
thought. But
Next week we'll have a counter up top where Ben says penetration. We'll count through the
Roland's like, yo, let's not get
Roland's
You
like,
canceled.
guys say it
enough.
again. You guys
No.
keep on saying
This
it.
is just
Let's
where we
just-
have to stop.
let's just stop.
Justin has the bleep button, so
Yeah.
if he wants to, he can bleep this shit out.
Check us out.
Yeah, that
Y'all
wraps
know where to
it.
find us. We'll be on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere you get any kind of podcast. We're on all the platforms.
Check us out on Twitter.
Yeah,
All right,
man.
guys. Hey, it was good. Another episode.
Glad to have you back, Justin. I knew
Are
you
we,
would be able to
we're
play.
gonna, we're gonna be in the fifth. Are we gonna be in the 40s or 50s next episode? What
Big
was
40, Big 40, Big 40.
Over the hill next episode.
Oh shit, we're getting over the hill next week.
Mhm. Yes,
You might
sir.
have to party hard for that one.
Yeah, well, next Wednesday might be the release date since
Yeah,
be
I'm
in
going
Vegas.
I'm going to
Well, we
Vegas.
have the little bet going on next week, Ben. So
What was it again? I already
all
forgot.
I need to happen is Justin Rose not win. And
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
All right.
So next week, guys. Thank
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.